Yep, here we go again. I've been isekai'd more times than a cat has lives, and this time I've landed right inside a web novel I stayed up way too late reading. The good news? I'm a high-tier trust fund baby. Wealthy parents, a monthly allowance that looks like a phone number, and more luxury than a billionaire's tax shelter. The bad news? I'm the biggest villain in the story. This guy has done it all: trafficking, smuggling, illegal gambling, you name it. He's basically a walking violation of the entire penal code, smelling less like expensive cologne and more like a life sentence. In the original plot, he battles the protagonist for 1,000 chapters before finally being served a lead salad by a firing squad. But there's a silver lining. I've arrived right at the turning point before his soul goes full charcoal. If I play my cards right, maybe I can avoid that bullet to the brain retirement plan. Right now, I'm in an interrogation room under lights so bright they could give a vampire a tan. 2 officers, 1 guy and 1 girl, are trying to crack me, but I'm currently giving them the worst customer service experience of their lives. When the female officer asks for my name, I just look her in the eye and say, male. She grits her teeth, her hand clenching into a fist as she realizes she's dealing with a real piece of work. She tries to stay professional and asks for my gender, and I hit her with 19. At this point, she's clearly about to lose it, but she continues the interrogation, asking for my age. My response? Female. The male officer has officially had enough of my comedy special. He slams the table hard enough to break a cheap IKEA desk and screams, Lin Yan, fix your attitude. Confess everything, and maybe we can talk about a suspended death sentence instead of the immediate one. Think about your family and friends. Are you really going to keep playing these games? I painfully pried my eyelids open, feeling like my soul had been through a 10-hour marathon without any Gatorade. This interrogation was draining my life bar faster than a phone with a spicy battery. I licked my lips, which were currently drier than the terms and conditions on a software update, and repeated the same phrase I'd already dropped about 1 billion times. I didn't kill anyone. Look, confessing isn't exactly on my bucket list today, mostly because I'm actually innocent. By now, I've pretty much accepted the fact that I've been isekai'd into this world. I know I'm innocent because I'm the guy who stayed up all night to write a 25,000-word essay. Yes, a full-blown dissertation of a review on this exact crime novel. It was called My Years of Matching Wits with High IQ Criminals. And let me tell you, if I don't change the script right now, things are about to get very Breaking Bad up in here. According to the original plot, the original owner of this body gets framed for murder, and after barely escaping the death penalty, he decides that if society wants a villain, he'll give them a masterpiece. He goes from being a spoiled rich kid to a legendary criminal mastermind, leaving the police department with a bunch of cold cases that would make Sherlock Holmes retire out of pure frustration. Then there's Lin Yan, who's currently staring at me like I'm a particularly difficult puzzle piece. He tells me the evidence is ironclad and that playing hard to get isn't going to work. He says that by tomorrow morning, I'll be handed over to the prosecutors. He starts giving me the tough love speech, warning me about how bad the murder charges look, and suggesting I take the express lane by confessing now. He thinks he's doing me a favor, like an overzealous gym trainer trying to get me to do 1 more set of jail time reps, so I can spend a few less days in the holding cell. I'm honestly speechless. This is it. This is the exact moment. This interrogation and the way his loathing family and friends turn their backs on him later is what triggers this rich kid's descent into the dark side. This guy was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but this setup is about to turn that spoon into a lockpick. I tilted my head back, squinting at the interrogation light that was currently shining brighter than a generic protagonist's plot armor. The blinding white lights are flickering, and my voice sounds as flat as a soda left out in the sun. I lean back and ask them, is your evidence chain really that solid? Look at my outfit. Do I look like the kind of guy who'd use a budget box cutter to end someone's subscription to life? I take a deep breath and close my eyes, feeling that soul-crushing fatigue you only get after a long day of being framed. The victim was a massive 1.98-meter unit. That is about 6'6", a total gym bro who probably lived on protein shakes. I am barely 1.8 meters, roughly 5'11", and I am definitely not a professional assassin. You are telling me I took down Goliath without a single drop of blood on my shirt or a scratch on the floor? Come on. Also, are you guys not insulting my family's tax bracket? If I really wanted him deleted from the server, I have got enough cash to make it happen without getting my hands dirty. And just a reminder, I have been skipping grades since the playground and graduated college a year ago. I looked at the two officers who were staring at me like I just told them the earth was flat and gave them a little smirk. With an IQ like mine, why would I ever do the manual labor myself? Okay, yeah, that sounds incredibly cocky, but that is the reality for the guy whose body I just hijacked. I have transmigrated into a web novel, so things being a little extra is just part of the job description. To make the main character look like some legendary light of justice and a hero for the people, the author went overboard on the villain. They gave me the ultimate big bad starter pack. A billionaire background, a genius brain that would make Einstein look like a toddler, a ruthless personality, and special skills maxed out to level 99. After I finished my little monologue, the two guys handling the interrogation just sat there recording my statement. The officers and Lin Yan were stuck in a silence so thick you could carve it with a dull butter knife. Suddenly, the interrogation room door slams open and in walks a middle-aged guy in plain clothes who definitely looks like he's seen too many episodes of Law and Order. He looks at our boy and says, "Lin Yan, glad to see you've decided to stop playing the silent protagonist. I'm going to ask the questions, and you're going to give me the truth, the whole truth, and hopefully something that doesn't involve me writing more paperwork. Got it?" Lin Yan rubs his neck, which probably feels like it was put through a blender, and gives him a cheeky grin. "Shoot your shot, officer." And just like that, we're back in the interrogation loop because apparently once wasn't enough for the plot. The veteran cop goes straight for the kill. He asks, "Okay, let's play pretend and say you didn't murder him. Why were you at the crime scene in the first place?" Top tier detective work there, folks. He went straight for the logic trap. Lin Yan doesn't blink. "I was called there. I'm sure your tech guys have already scrolled through my call history while they were bored." The cop nods, looking disappointed that he didn't get to use a warrant. "Yeah, we saw the logs. You both have the same record. But why did he call you? Did you two have a little lover's quarrel or something?" Lin Yan keeps it real. "Oh, we had a conflict, all right. He dragged me out there just to waste my time and then started insulting me like he was an anonymous keyboard warrior." The cop's eyes go colder than a frozen TV dinner. He's thinking, bingo, a crime of passion. Just because the dead guy invited him over doesn't mean Lin Yan didn't decide to cancel his subscription to Life after being insulted. But before the cop can start the "I know you did it" monologue, Lin Yan takes charge. "You guys already know the victim was an artist signed to my entertainment agency. He wanted to break his contract, and even after I was a total saint and cut his exit fee in half, so the guy still refuses to cough up my cash. Then, out of nowhere yesterday, he hits me up like a toxic ex-girlfriend, claiming he's got the breach of contract money ready. He wants me to swing by his place so he can apologize for being a backstabbing job hopper. Since I like money and watching people grovel, I head over. But the second I show up, total 180. He starts hurling insults like he's trying to win a mid-2000s Xbox Live lobby argument. I figured he'd skipped his meds, so I gave him the "it's not you, it's me" excuse and bounced before things got even weirder. This middle-aged detective, a Yuan, hits me with the classic detective frown, the one they practice in the mirror to look like they actually have a soul. He slides a bottle of water over like he's treating me to a 5-star meal and keeps the interrogation going. He says, "Look, he owed you money and trashed your ego. Maybe you went full John Wick in a fit of rage. especially since the murder weapon was a utility knife from your own office covered in your fingerprints. I stared at that water for 2 seconds, wondering if it was tap or filtered before sighing. "Officer, let's use our big boy brains for a second. The logic is doing backflips here. He owes me money. If he's dead, his bank account doesn't magically Venmo me the balance. You've seen my file. I'm so loaded my tax returns could probably fund a small moon base. This company is basically a glorified hobby to see if I could actually survive a 9 to 5. Do I look brain dead enough to trade my life for a few $100,000? If I actually wanted to delete someone from the server, I'd pay for a professional, some gloves, and a localized EMP to fry the cameras. I wouldn't use a dull office blade like some budget slasher villain." And Yuan tries to play the good cop, telling me they'll find the truth even if the evidence looks like a bad Yelp review. I rattled my handcuffs, which, by the way, are terrible for my circulation, and finally grabbed the water. I took a few long gulps, trying to wash down the sheer stupidity of this situation, while I tried to get my breathing back to normal. Alright, let's use some logic here, even if the author clearly skipped that class. Besides me, my chief of staff and my head secretary both have keys to my office. They come and go whenever they want, probably to steal my good pens or judge my desktop wallpaper. That box cutter covered in my fingerprints, it wouldn't take a mastermind to swap it. Both of them have the rank and the access to pull off a classic switcheroo. These things are company-issued gear with the official logo, not some legendary loot drop from a raid boss. Before the middle-aged guy across from me could even finish buffering his next thought, I pointed him in the right direction. Check who swapped the knife on my desk and run a lab test to see if my prints are actually on the weapon or if this is just a low-budget frame job. That should point you to the real culprit. The guy went silent for a second, his face finally relaxing into something almost human. He introduced himself as Zhou Yu Ming, the Vice Captain of Intelligence and Investigation. I gave him a once-over. He looked like a friendly neighbor, but his eyes had more pixels of sharpness than an 8K monitor. I masked my suspicion with the perfect "I'm totally innocent" face. "Captain Zhou, I'm eagerly waiting for you to clear my name and put the real bad guy behind bars." Then I went back to chugging water like I was trying to solve a global drought. Seriously, 10 hours of interrogation without a single drink? That's some tier 1 hydration torture right there. But just as I thought I could finally relax and maybe catch an episode of whatever's trending, my vision glitched. A virtual light box, yeah, one of those cliché game screens, popped up right in front of me. A cold, robotic voice started talking inside my skull. Detection complete. Host fits every single profile of a high IQ supervillain. Genius anti-investigation system binding successful. Great. Just what I needed. A UI that thinks I'm the Joker. Kid, do you have a dream? Do you crave legendary fame? Then open those silver bracelets in 3 seconds and give the officers in front of you a little shock. Become a high-tier outlaw, dance in the blood, and play with lives like they're a game of Candy Crush. Make the entire administrative world tremble before you. I took one look at that system prompt and did a spit take that would have won an Oscar, completely soaking Zhou Yu Ming's back as he was trying to leave. To make sure the godfather of the protagonist didn't add me to his permanent grudge list, I went full method actor. I swiped my water bottle off the table and started coughing like I was auditioning for a Victorian-era plague movie. I looked like I was about to go meet my ancestors right then and there. What kind of bootleg, genius anti-criminal system is this? I have zero interest in becoming a gold medalist in the Penal Code Olympics, okay? Is it too late to get a refund on this transmigration? Is there a manager I can speak to? I was coughing so hard I actually cried, wishing I could just clip through the floor and disappear. Unlock the handcuffs in 3 seconds. I'm already the prime suspect here, geniuses. If I start pulling Houdini stunts in a police interrogation room, do you think I'm walking out of here with all my limbs attached? But the system isn't taking no for an answer. The reward for this little stunt? a skill called I just like playing with knives, so what? Apparently, since I'm a rich second-generation brat who collects expensive blades, being a grand master of shivving people is perfectly logical. Thanks, plot armor. I blinked away the tears, my eyes probably looking as vacant as a terms and conditions page. I knew I shouldn't touch the cuffs, but my hands had a mind of their own. Click. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. I froze. The three officers froze. Everyone in that interrogation room just stared in total, absolute disbelief. Look at this guard. His eyes are about to pop out of his skull because those Silver Series manacles are supposed to be the high-end premium tier of restraints. You need a specific custom-made key just to get them to budge, but our boy here just blinked and click, they're open. The guard is definitely wondering if he's dealing with a master thief or if the manufacturer just cheaped out on the locks again. I was about to cook up some graded nonsense to explain why I'm suddenly a locksmithing prodigy, but before I could open my mouth, the system decided it was time for a loot drop. A notification pops up. Congratulations, host! You've unlocked the I just really like playing with knives reward. Seriously, system? That's the name? I feel like I'm one step away from being the guy people avoid on the subway. Suddenly, my brain gets hit with a massive file download. It's like every 5-star chef tutorial mixed with an assassin handbook. We're talking heavy-duty great sabers, horse-chopping blades, elegant tang swords, and all the way down to throwing knives, daggers, utility blades. Heck, I even know my way around a scalpel now. Usually, these brain buffs feel like a massive migraine, but this time it was smooth sailing. Easier than when I first inherited the memories of this body's original owner. After a microsecond of processing, I've basically become a walking encyclopedia of anatomy, specifically how to dismantle it. I know exactly how to strike to make sure a victim doesn't even have time to leave a 1-star review before they're gone. I know the perfect grip for maximum efficiency, how to slide a blade past a rib cage like it's a sliding glass door, and how to carve up human tissue in perfect proportions. Wait, hold on a minute. This isn't just a skill, it's a fast-track ticket to a life sentence. I smacked my forehead so hard I probably saw stars. I can practically hear the judge reading my charges and see the prison chef prepping my last meal. See, the original owner of this body was a pampered, silver spoon-fed rich kid. If he ever got into trouble, his daddy would just throw money at the problem until it went away. Even later in the original story, he had a lineup of people willing to go to jail or even die for him just for a fat paycheck. But me? Our protagonist is a police academy student who actually, get this, respects the law. I know a main character with a moral compass in this economy. He is not about to let some hack author's predictable plot armor drag him into the genius villain lifestyle. He is basically hitting the unsubscribe button on the whole villain system nonsense. After Zhou Yu Ming deals with the literal chills running down his spine and a long, awkward silence that felt like waiting for a 4K video to buffer on public Wi-Fi, he finally steps up. He tells our guy to come get his statement processed and then tosses him into the detention room to cool off. Oh, and he asks where our boy learned to pick locks like a pro. Our lead is speechless. How the hell is he supposed to know? He is as confused as a boomer trying to find the any key. After spending a few hours in the detention cell, which, let's be honest, has worse reviews than a seasonal Overwatch patch, he is finally kicked back out into the sweet, sweet air of freedom. He checks his phone for the first time in 20 hours, and surprise, surprise, the missed call list is longer than the terms and conditions page nobody reads. He closes his eyes, just wanting to call a rideshare and go home to faceplant into his pillow, but the system's voice starts ringing in his head like a spam caller that won't take no for an answer. Right on cue, that virtual blue screen pops up again, looking like a glitchy UI from a budget mobile game. The system is basically like, congrats on being slightly less of a suspect. Now that you are free, don't you want to do something legendary? It tells him to go show off his God-kissed talent for crime. The current mission? Commit a robbery and don't get caught by the cops. Time limit, 24 hours. The reward? some high-level hacking skills because apparently the system thinks it's a Silicon Valley recruiter. Our boy is absolutely done. God-kissed talent for crime? Does he look like he needs that? Seriously? Sometimes he really just wants to lie down in the middle of the road and let the world pass him by. If I could scream like that one viral YouTube groundhog right now, I totally would. Seriously, someone call a priest or a therapist, because I am losing it. An hour later, I'm moping my way back into the luxury villa complex, feeling more emo than a 2005 MySpace profile. Why? Because there's a giant countdown clock floating in my field of vision that refuses to leave me alone for even a single second. It's currently sitting at 22 hours, 19 minutes, and 43 seconds. Honestly, I'm dying to know what happens if I just ghost this system and let the clock hit zero. Do I explode? Does my browser history get leaked to my parents? Unfortunately, this system has the IQ of a lukewarm toaster. It only talks when it's barking orders. Every time I try to open a status window, I just get a blank screen that says information unavailable. It's like trying to get a straight answer out of a customer service bot. If it weren't for the ticking clock constantly reminding me of my impending doom, I'd swear I was just having a very specific, very boring hallucination. I finally get home still feeling like a total shut-in when a deep, authoritative voice snaps me out of it. Did you get into trouble again? I look up and realize there's a guy in a sharp suit just sitting there in the living room, quiet as a debt collector. He taps his expensive cigar into the ashtray and gives me a look that says he's about to fire me from the family. I blink, my brain finally rebooting, and reflexively call him Dad. Lin Hai gives me a nod. His gaze is heavy and full of pressure, scanning my clothes like a TSA agent looking for contraband, but then the scary CEO mask starts to slip. The seriousness evaporates, replaced by a glint in his eye that tells me he's about to be a menace. His tone drops the professional act immediately. Where have you been messing around? I couldn't reach you for 24 hours. Did you finally get arrested for something embarrassing? Seeing that sneaky, trolling grin on Lin Hai's face, I honestly started questioning if I was even in the right house. Wait, did I hear that right? Is this guy actually my biological father? Or did he find me in a clearance bin at a thrift store? Seriously, does he even have a seat at the family table with that attitude? Who talks to their kid like that? Standard manhwa dad behavior, am I right? It's a good thing I've got the previous owner's memories downloaded into my brain like a glitchy software update. I gave Lin Hai the world's biggest eye roll and fired back. Listen, old Lin, you're the one who needs to be careful. Try not to get caught in a police raid the next time you're networking at one of those shady clubs. Lin Hai isn't the type to throw a tantrum when he loses a round of banter. Since he started the trash talk, he was more than ready to finish it. He told me to forget that entertainment company and come work as his general assistant. He even offered to set up some business meetings tomorrow and personally hand-deliver me to a jail cell. I just laughed at that. Honestly, his HR department must be a total nightmare. I flopped onto the sofa across from him like a sack of potatoes, totally ruining the professional vibe. I told him fine, whatever, I'm closing the company. Suddenly, the energy in the room shifted. Old Lin actually looked serious for once, like he just realized his Netflix password got changed without his permission. He asked if I'd finally faced reality and given up on our real man showdown. He took a long look at my clothes, which, let's be honest, I've been wearing long enough for them to develop their own ecosystem. He wondered if I'd gotten into some kind of trouble since I actually called him Dad when I walked in today. According to him, that's rarer than a printer that actually works on the first try. Lin Yan? I didn't say a word. I just stayed there, stretched out like a salted fish, basically the human equivalent of a 404 error page. I was staring at the ceiling, looking totally brain dead. But here's the thing. The original owner of this body wasn't actually a total loser. His IQ and business sense were legit. Even though that entertainment company was just a startup, it already had some decent talent on the roster. My company was basically becoming a one-stop shop for everything listed in the criminal code, And now I've got this cursed system sticking to me like a toxic ex who won't take a hint. To keep myself from being forced into a life of crime, liquidating the company is definitely my best move. As for that theft mission, I was way too drained to play Thief Simulator just yet. I skipped the small talk in the living room, hit the shower, and came out to find a hot meal waiting on my desk. I demolished those plates faster than a developer fixing a server crash. With my stomach finally satisfied, I face-planted onto my bed. I started wondering, what am I even supposed to steal? My neighbor's bonsai tree? Bad move. In this gated community, for the ultra-rich, a decorative shrub probably costs more than my entire life savings. One missing leaf and I'm looking at 20 to life. I decided to just go full potato and closed my eyes. But then, way too early. I'm talking the sun hadn't even finished its morning coffee yet. My phone started screaming. I didn't even check the caller ID before answering. Who's this? The name Zhou Yuming was enough to snap me out of my dream state. I checked the time, it wasn't even 5 a.m. Seriously, does this guy think we're in a 24-hour hackathon? Zhou Yuming sounded like he'd been gargling gravel, but he was mostly just frustrated. He told me the case was hitting a wall and I needed to get back there. Apparently, he was doing me a favor by not sending his sleep-deprived colleagues to drag me out of bed in handcuffs. He said that was just one thing. So the suspicion is back on me. Big surprise. I give a resigned sigh like a middle manager watching the office printer jam for the 5th time on a Monday. I finish my morning routine and decide to play a little game of Grand Theft Father-in-Law's Stuff. I sneak into Lin Kanghai's study. Honestly, the security in this house is worse than a toddler's 1234 password. And swipe his stash of premium tea and a fancy crystal fountain pen. I hide the tea in my room and pocket the pen. Hey, consider it a consulting fee for putting up with this plot. A few minutes later, I'm yawning my way out of the complex. I scan the street and spot a sudden fleet of taxis parked at the entrance. I actually have to laugh. I pick the one that looks the most undercover and tap on the window. Hey buddy, you going to the security bureau? Full disclosure, I'm not paying. The undercover cop behind the wheel just stares at me with eyes full of, I definitely failed my stealth tutorial. I hop in and buckle my seatbelt, safety first, kids, while the guy asks how the heck I burned his cover. I tell him it's simple. This is a high-end villa complex. Everyone here has a private chauffeur or a car that costs more than a small island. Nobody calls a taxi, let alone 5 of them at once. Plus, you guys are sitting so straight you look like students trying to impress a substitute teacher during a surprise inspection. Who wouldn't smell a rat? The young officer has nothing to say to that, and his earpiece goes dead silent too. Probably his boss face-palming so hard it shattered the microphone. By the time we pull up to the station, I'm rubbing my eyes and realizing my stomach is emptier than a loot box in a rigged gotcha game. I look at the kid and ask, yo, I left in a hurry. Does this place provide breakfast, or is the service here 1-star only? The officer just sits there in silence, probably waiting for his headset to tell him if the departmental budget covers a sympathy bagel. The officer tells me if I'm actually helpful, Captain Joe might treat me to the station's cafeteria. Honestly, as long as I'm not eating the 5-star gourmet slop in a prison cell, I'll take it. I followed the rookie officer, not really paying attention until I realized I was being marched right back into another interrogation room. I looked across the table at Zhou Yuming, who looked like he'd just spent 48 hours straight trying to beat a level 100 boss on a dial-up connection. He's a mess. His hair is a literal bird's nest, his fingers are stained yellow from chain smoking, and his eyes are redder than a crypto trader's portfolio during a market crash. I glanced at the ashtray overflowing with cigarette butts and then down at my own silver bracelets. Seriously? You guys found nothing all night, so now we're back to pinning the Murderer of the Year award on me. Zhou Yuming looks at me with those bloodshot eyes and tells me they checked the utility knife. Sure enough, it only had my secretary Xu Qianshan's fingerprints on it. But guess what? She's got a perfect alibi for the time of death. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so she's obviously the accomplice, right? But Joe just shakes his head, his voice sounding like he's been gargling gravel. He says her story is airtight. Apparently, as a secretary who handles my daily office grind, seeing a missing knife and replacing it with a new one is perfectly reasonable. I nearly forgot how to breathe. I had to pause for a few seconds before a big brain moment hit me. I asked him if they recovered any juicy intel from the victim's phone. But nope, the tech support squad said there was barely anything there. Just some deleted traces of everyday photos and some standard app uninstalls. I stared at Zhou Yuming for a long beat, realizing the guy wasn't even joking. I let out a sigh so long it could have been a mid-season filler episode. Look, I told them, I can fix your little tech problem and recover the data. It's clear the author is railroading me harder than a buggy pre-ordered DLC. This plot is determined to see me behind bars no matter what. And apparently, the local police are about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Seriously, isn't this supposed to be a high-level investigation unit? You're telling me these experts can't recover a few deleted files? It's like watching my grandma try to program a VCR. What, did the victim have some top-secret government encryption on his phone? Or was he just really good at hiding his spicy browser history? But to my surprise, Zhou Yuming didn't bite. He just stared at me with the personality of a dry piece of toast and reminded me that I'm the prime suspect. I fired back that suspect doesn't mean criminal, dropping my sarcastic grin like a Netflix subscription after a price hike. I get it. You're worried I'll accidentally delete the evidence, or that I'm just some nerd who thinks clicking Inspect Element makes me a hacker. To prove I'm the real deal, I offered to recover data from a completely different case first. I refused to let this frame job stick to me like a bad reputation on a toxic gaming forum. Zhou Yuming stayed quiet for a beat, probably calculating his retirement fund, then finally agreed. But he warned me, if I failed to find anything useful, he'd personally escort me to a cold cell faster than a speedrunner finishing a tutorial level. With his blessing, I was hauled into the tech department at 6 a.m. The place smelled like stale energy drinks and broken dreams, with only one exhausted officer left, typing away like he was fighting for his life in a ranked match. I sat down, checked the connection to the victim's phone, and let my fingers fly across the keys. I was typing with such intensity, it would make a professional esports player look like they were using a typewriter. Why the sudden surge in confidence? Because my internal system just dinged in my head with a new reward, and let's be honest, in these stories, the system is the ultimate cheat code. I'm just as shocked as you are, folks. I was basically going in with a fake it till you make it vibe, but apparently, shoplifting a tin of tea and a fancy pen from my own dad's study actually counts as a successful heist in the system's book. If the bar for being a master thief is that low, then every kid who ever stole a grape at the grocery store is basically a legendary outlaw. But the reward? Oh, it's absolute insanity. The system basically looked at me and said, "You're the IT department now, kid. I've got hacking skills that would make a Silicon Valley billionaire cry into his overpriced latte. We're talking hand-eye coordination and processing speeds so cracked I could probably rewrite the Matrix before my coffee gets cold. I can write programs that turn hardened criminals into my own personal marionettes. But even with these literal God mode cheats, the plot armor in this story is a real pain in the neck. The author's logic is acting like a firewall I didn't ask for. It took me an entire hour of intense clicking just to dig through the layers of encryption to find the deleted messages on the victim's phone. My buddy Zhou Yuming was just chilling in the next cubicle, probably scrolling through whatever the fantasy version of Reddit is, but the moment he looked up and saw me archiving the victim's secret chat history, he sat up straighter than a middle manager during an unannounced audit. He saw those threatening messages on the screen, and his face went from bored to existential crisis in 3 seconds flat. He asks me who the guy is, and I'm like, that's the general assistant, Fang Wen. My fingers are moving so fast they're basically a blur, and the office printer starts screaming for its life as it spits out the logs. Zhou Yuming lunges for that paper like it's the last slice of pizza at a corporate retreat. The more he reads, the more he looks like he's having a very bad day at the office. Then, my fingers just freeze midair. I slowly turn my head and lock eyes with Captain Zhou Yuming. So, do you guys want this one or what? On the computer screen, a clip was playing that definitely wasn't for kids. Let's just say it had more plot than a high-budget HBO series. Zhou Yuming didn't even blink, his eyes staying glued to the chat logs I was currently digging up. I told him we should save it just in case. Then my fingers went to town on the keyboard, bringing back about 80% of those "oops, I deleted it" messages. Right then, our resident rookie Li Xiaosheng walked in with breakfast for two. He caught one glimpse of the screen, which was currently blasting some very specific sound effects and enough skin to make a sensor bar catch fire, and his brain basically 404'd. His bun hit the floor faster than a protagonist's dignity in a harem manga. I get that we aren't officially on the clock yet, but maybe we shouldn't be watching adult education videos while we're in the middle of a case. Zhou Yuming just looked at the kid and said, "Hey Xiao Li, come join the party. Analyze this and tell me if you see a cause of death." Poor Li Xiaosheng turned redder than a low-budget villain's eyes, but he sat there as stiff as a board, trying to be a professional. Zhou Yuming pushed his buns toward me and told me to eat up in that deep voice of his, but I did a hard pass on that. Unlike this guy, who has clearly been on the force since the dawn of time, my stomach isn't ready for a break-fast and spicy videos combo. As soon as the clip ended, Zhou Yuming finished his meal, took his sweet time wiping his mouth, and asked the rookie for his expert opinion. So, what can we actually learn from the digital dumpster fire found on the dead guy's phone? Li Xiaosheng shakes his head, trying to jumpstart his brain like a 2005 laptop, and finally starts thinking. Based on the autopsy photos, the crispy corpse is definitely the same dude starring in all these creepy private videos. If our victim was the one filming and editing this stuff, then we're looking at a classic revenge killing. I mean, you don't make a career out of being a professional creep without making a few enemies who want to see your subscription to life canceled. Li Xiaosheng looks over at me while I'm mid-yawn. Hey, being a protagonist is exhausting, okay? And points out that since I was framed so perfectly, our killer has some serious elite hacking skills. No fingerprints, no footprints, nothing. This guy has better privacy settings than a billionaire's tax returns. He's clearly a pro at avoiding detection, basically the human version of a VPN. Once things get technical, Li Xiaosheng loses that awkward blush and gets as serious as an HR manager during a budget cut. He figures the killer was probably one of the people featured in these videos, someone who got blackmailed, hit a breaking point, and decided to execute a revenge plot more complex than a Christopher Nolan movie timeline. Zhou Yuming nods along and pulls out some printed chat logs. It turns out Xu Qianqian and Fang Wen were both victims of this guy's secret camera hobby. And looking at the sheer number of different women in these edits compared to just the one male lead, it's clear this dude was running a regular production house of misery. He was probably selling this stuff on the side or using it for some sick leverage. At this point, my suspect of the week status is officially revoked. I'm basically cleared of all charges. Zhou Yuming claps me on the shoulder with a smile that's actually relieved for once. He tells me my computer skills are top tier and asks if I have any interest in joining them as a special consultant. I just give him a little smirk and don't give him an answer right away. I've got a brand to maintain, and government consultant doesn't exactly fit the vibe of a mysterious hero. Listen, Captain Zhou, how about you focus on catching the clown who actually framed me? If it were up to me, I wouldn't touch anyone related to a main character with a 10-foot pole, especially not his old man. Seriously, being adjacent to a protagonist in these stories is basically a fast track to a miserable life and even worse plot armor. Zhou looks at me, probably realizing I've got the kind of tech skills that make Silicon Valley look like a kindergarten playground. He tells me that if I don't start serving the people, He's going to be popping by my house for unannounced visits more often than a persistent telemarketer. I just give him my best, I don't give a damn face. Joe shakes his head, probably feeling a bit guilty for letting his goons interrogate me for over 10 hours straight earlier. I mean, even the most toxic corporate HR department would call that a bit excessive. He finally snaps out of it and tells Xiao Li to bring in Xu Qian and Fang Wen for questioning. Then he looks at me and says, "Lin Yan, let's go grab some food. I promised you a meal if you helped, and I'm a man of my word. I don't play hard to get when free food is involved, so I follow him to the cafeteria. Honestly, the precinct canteen breakfast spread is better than my last 3 Uber Eats orders combined. Everything is fresh, piping hot, and actually looks edible. I grab a few things and start inhaling my food at a table, but Joe is sitting right across from me, acting weirder than a glitchy NPC. He's looking back and forth between me and my gear, clearly dying to ask something but holding back. I finally have enough of the awkward silence. "Captain, if you've got something to say, just say it. It's almost 8 in the morning. Shouldn't you be out busting heads or going home to sleep off your midlife crisis?" Joe chuckles and clears his throat, trying to play it cool. "Nothing, nothing. Just eat up. Your record is clean, so you're free to go as soon as you're done. But, do you want to guess? I'm being offered a seat at the table to interrogate Xu Qian and Fang Wen. Look, I'd love to give them a piece of my mind personally, but Captain Zhou Yuming is giving me that look. You know the one, the look a regional manager gives you right before asking you to volunteer for a weekend shift because we're a family here. I stir my bowl of sweet porridge for a couple of seconds before looking up and telling the captain to quit the suspense and just spit it out. Joe knows I'm not some side character NPC who's going to fall for a basic dialogue tree, so he gets straight to the point. He tells me that if I just nod my head, he'll get me a temporary consultant badge. That way I can be part of the entire investigation into this break-in murder. He stares me right in the eyes, speaking slower than a dial-up modem trying to load a 4K image, making sure I hear every syllable, including interrogating the suspects. I smack my lips and put down my spoon. This old fox is totally baiting me. He knows I was framed, dragged through the mud, and spent over 10 hours being grilled like a cheap steak. Normally, when someone tries to ruin your life, you want to put them in a sack and treat them like a human piñata. The chance to legally interrogate the people who almost got me a one-way ticket to the Forever Sleep firing squad, that's a bigger temptation than a skip ad button on a 10-minute video. Joe sees the look on my face and drops the professional act, getting serious. He admits he actually needs my help because this case is a mess. Even though those edited clips don't look like much, when you piece them together, you get over 30 minutes of footage. The amount of raw material the victim recorded must be absolutely massive. Joe rubs his temples like a guy who just realized his crypto wallet got hacked, looking completely drained. So our victim here got turned into a human pincushion, specifically a knife straight through the spleen. Talk about a bad day at the office. But here's the kicker for all you armchair detectives. There were 0 signs of a struggle, and his system was cleaner than a brand new browser history. No drugs, no booze, and the wound reaction was so faint it suggests he was already unconscious when the killer started playing a real-life game of operation. I go back to my bowl of purple porridge, which looks suspiciously like something a TikTok influencer would claim is a superfood, and ask our detective friend, "So, you want me to help you track down those special meds and find that website where he was selling his, let's call them spicy adult videos?" Also, one more thing. When exactly did the tip come in? Zhou Yuming didn't even blink at my mind-reading trick. He's got this case memorized like a hardcore gamer who hasn't seen sunlight in 3 weeks. He tells me the call hit at 1:39 p.m. According to the cameras, I'd barely cleared the apartment complex before the fuzz showed up. When he arrived with the forensics team, the body hadn't even started showing livor mortis yet, meaning the guy was still practically fresh out of the oven. But when they tried to call the tipster back, Total radio silence. I take a few more sips of my porridge and give him a look. Doesn't that strike you as a bit weird? The guy kicks the bucket, and within minutes, faster than a customer service bot telling you your call is important, you guys are at his door with the exact room number. Who could possibly know what's happening inside that house in real time? Zhou Yu-ming frowns, rubbing his fingers, which are yellowed from enough nicotine to power a small village, and his eyes go dark. Either it's the killer, he mutters, or someone's been watching his every move through a hidden camera. I just hold up a single finger right in front of Zhou Yu-ming. There is zero chance it was the killer. Even the most ego-tripping psycho wouldn't trust a rush job crime scene to be flawless. They'd be scrubbing every surface like they were trying to get a security deposit back from a landlord who hates joy. Fang Wen and Xu Qianqian are the type of perfectionists who proofread a simple work email 6 times before hitting send, so you know they'd be triple-checking for any stray hairs or DNA. Zhou Yu-ming nods along, finally catching up to the plot. He agrees that if the killer were the one reporting it, they'd wait at least an hour or two to make sure their DIY slaughterhouse looked like a clean Airbnb. I'm just sitting there, chin in my hand, giving Zhou Yu-ming my best "I'm the protagonist" smirk. I tell him there's only one real possibility left. Our victim had a hidden camera in his place. It probably recorded the whole murder in glorious high def. This footage isn't just the slam dunk evidence for the trial. It's the breadcrumb trail to find out who was spying on the dead guy in the first place. Judging by the victim's sketchy history, the peeper is likely some heavy hitter from a black market pharmacy or a high-ranking executive from an adult site. If it were a legit security company, they wouldn't have stayed anonymous when they called the cops. Basically, whoever made the report is exactly the person you need to put in handcuffs. Zhou Yu-ming just stares at me like I'm speedrunning a mystery game. He takes a deep breath of the cafeteria air, which smells like mystery meat and low expectations, and feels a literal toothache coming on. How does Lin Yan's brain even work? I took a tiny scrap of info from the autopsy report, checked the clock, and mapped out the entire conspiracy. I didn't just read his mind, Zhou Yu-ming is currently having a full-blown existential crisis because he realized he treated a literal investigative genius like a common street thug. He's basically wishing he could build a time machine just to slap his past self across the face and scream, "Wake up, you idiot!" Honestly, the regret is so thick you could spread it on toast, but hey, that's what happens when you judge a book by its cover, or in this case, a protagonist by his lack of a badge. While he was busy dying inside, I was just vibing and finishing my breakfast. By the time I'm putting my tray away, Zhou Yu-ming's phone is blowing up like a group chat on a Friday night. He's losing his mind, screaming at his team because apparently they lost a guy who was just on camera. How do you lose a grown man in a city covered by the Sky Eye surveillance system? It's like the suspect hit the incognito mode button in real life. I've seen more competent tracking in a budget horror movie where the camera is literally a potato. Zhou Yu-ming hangs up and tries to give me a professional smile, but his eyes look like he's been staring at a blue light screen for 72 hours straight. He tells me Xu Qianqian is being brought back to the station, but Fang Wen has pulled a total Houdini. He offers to get me a temporary ID and a dedicated laptop. I almost told him my personal rig makes government-issued hardware look like a glorified calculator, but then I realized this gets me a VIP pass into the interrogation room. My plan is simple: solve this case, grab the reward money, and ghost this guy and his dad faster than a Tinder match who finds out you still live in your parents' basement. Since the deputy captain is the one pulling the strings, my temporary ID is ready in about 15 minutes. It's got that fancy deep green leather cover that looks exactly like the official badges the real cops carry. I flip it open and read the title: Temporary Technical Consultant for Home Invasion Homicide Case. I've got to admit, reading those words feels a bit surreal. One minute I'm the prime suspect, and the next I'm the consultant. Talk about a career pivot. I went from the guy in the handcuffs to the guy Look at me, shifting roles faster than a tech CEO fleeing a subpoena. I've got to hand it to myself. Being a consultant is a massive upgrade over being the department's designated scapegoat. Moments later, I'm led into the interrogation room, sitting right next to Zhou Yuming like I've been on the force for 20 years. Xu Qianqian looks up, and when she sees me sitting there looking like I'm waiting for a brunch invite instead of a confession, she actually looks relieved. She asks if I'm here to bail her out, immediately apologizing for the work delay and reminding me I have a meeting from 3:30 to 5. Seriously? We're in a police station, not a Slack channel. I see Li Xiaosheng scribbling this nonsense into the official record like it's the Da Vinci Code, so I give her a look that screams, please stop talking. I tell her, look, you've got a degree. You know people don't just come here for the aesthetic. I've only got a few questions, so don't let me down. As the hope dies in her eyes, honestly, it's like watching a movie theater realize it's out of popcorn. I get serious. I ask her if she knows Zheng Chaoji and if she ever planned on getting a little revenge for what that woman did to her. She starts to pull the new phone who disroutine, but she catches my vibe and swallows the lie, settling for a simple no. I give a slight nod. I know she's lying. It's about as believable as a terms and conditions agreement, but I don't press her. Instead, I pull a 180 and ask about Fang Wen. I remind her they were close, even covering for each other when her monthly cycle turned her into a human heating pad. I ask if she knows where Fang Wen is now that she's pulled a disappearing act. Xu Qianqian shakes her head, her pale face relaxing just a tiny bit. She tells me that the day before yesterday, Fang Wen said some family drama went down, left during lunch, and never bothered to come back. She says that for the rest of the afternoon, she was stuck doing Fang Wen's work because so the detective asks, exactly how long has your boss been playing hide and seek with the universe? Apparently since noon, and the security cameras haven't caught a single frame of his disappearing act. I just sit there, wearing a face so wholesome and harmless, you'd swear I was the mascot for a brand of organic tofu. I'm treating this interrogation room like a VIP lounge, leaning back and giving them the who, me, shrug. I tell them, look, my intel is pretty limited. I'm the kind of boss who practices quiet quitting and leaves the office way before you guys do. I'm only here because I'm a deeply concerned employer. I mean, the kid is young, gorgeous, and actually hits his KPIs, a rare specimen. He's been missed for hours, and in this genre, that usually means he's either a protagonist in a thriller or he's been kidnapped by a rival plot hook. Officer Zhou Yuming cuts me a side eye that says he's watched way too many true crime documentaries. He's trying to figure out if this kid is trying to pull a Jedi mind trick or just playing psychological 4D chess. From a legal standpoint, Xu Qianqian looks like the perfect Robin to Fang Wen's murderous Batman. I mean, the kid literally gift-wrapped a utility knife for Lin Yan, which is a bit of a red flag in any HR handbook. But the little rascal has a perfectly logical excuse for every suspicious move. Zhou, being a veteran who's probably seen enough tropes to fill a library, knows that if Xu Qianqian doesn't voluntarily spill the tea, he's going to walk away from this accomplished charge like a lucky protagonist with plot armor. But then the atmosphere shifts. After we spend a few seconds in a high-stakes staring contest, where I make sure my eyes look more concerned than a millennial looking at their bank account, Xu Qianqian hits us with the theatrics. He presses a hand to his chest, closes his eyes, and lets out a sigh that's longer than a director's cut of a 4-hour epic. "Boss, I'm so sorry," he whimpers. "Me and Sister Wen really were looking for some payback against Zheng Chao. We even sat down and brainstormed a bunch of different versions of the plan. After being rescued from the clutches of Zheng Chaojie, our girl Xu Qianqian is so busy playing the victim that she doesn't even realize she's been hauled into a literal interrogation room instead of a cozy witness lounge. She starts spilling all the tea about the secret spot under the bed. Get this, the bed looks like it's glued to the floor, but it's actually a high-tech electric lift controlled by a remote. It's like a Bond villain's secret lair, but way more depressing and with zero cool gadgets, Under the table, Zhou Yuming gives me a sneaky thumbs up, the international sign for hook, line, and sinker, before snapping back into his serious cop cosplay. He stares down Xu Qianqian and asks if she's absolutely sure about her story, dropping the heavy legal hammer. If she's hiding anything or feeding them fake news that trashes the investigation, she's looking at 3 to 10 years in the slammer. That's a longer commitment than most people have with their Netflix passwords. Xu Qianqian nods so hard her tears are flying around like a broken sprinkler. She's all, "I'm positive, Uncle Anne. Sister Wen was like a sister to me. Find her and throw that trash Zheng Chaojie in a hole." She claims there's physical evidence of his handiwork on Wen's body and even mentions she's got some spicy video evidence of her own. She's fully prepared to sue him into the next dimension and watch him rot behind bars. Well, isn't that just a classic case of dramatic irony? Because once they actually find Fang Wen, someone is definitely going to prison. It's just that the gender of the person in the orange jumpsuit isn't going to be what Xu Qianqian expects. I just look at this poor, deluded girl who still firmly believes Fang Wen was some damsel in distress. I don't say a word. As we leave the room, Zhou Yuming can't help but give Lin Yan another thumbs up, basically admitting that when it comes to manipulating the narrative, Lin Yan is the undisputed GOAT. Look, Xu Qianqian and Fang Wen are tighter than the leggings at a Lululemon warehouse sale. If I'd even hinted that Zheng Chaojie was pushing daisies and Fang Wen was the prime suspect, she would have clammed up faster than a teenager whose parents just asked to see their browser history. Getting info on that basement would have been a total pipe dream. But if you switch the narrative to, oh no, Fang Wen is missing and in danger, suddenly she's a fountain of information. Fear for a friend's life is the ultimate truth serum, people. By the time we rolled up to Zheng Chaojie's house, Zhou Yuming was basically fanboying over my brain. He told me it's a waste I'm not in the administration department, but honestly, I'd rather eat a bowl of rusted nails. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a reply. I just hopped onto the big sofa, pulled out the laptop from the gear bag he prepped for me, and started clacking away like I was trying to find out who actually leaked the season finale of my favorite show. Thanks for the compliment, old man, but I'm strictly a freelance genius. Guided by the crumbs I shook out of Xu Qianqian, the officers didn't waste any time. They were hunting for the basement remote like it was a limited edition sneaker drop. Suddenly, the light bulbs went off in their heads. They didn't even wait for Zhou Yuming to bark an order. They went straight for the massive bed that was practically glued to the floor. It didn't take long before that heavy-ass bed was being dragged across the room. After shifting the bed about 4 inches, that's 10 centimeters for the metric fans out there, a hidden staircase reveals itself. Just as our boy Zhou Yuming tells the squad to keep pushing, a raspy female voice drifts up from the darkness like a ghost who hasn't had her morning coffee. She tells them not to bother and that she'll open it herself. Suddenly, there's the click of a remote, because even secret underground passages have smart home features these days, and the heavy bed starts creaking upward like a garage door that's seen better decades. Once the path is clear, a young woman named Fang Wen walks out with a level of zero fluffs-given calm. She's barely wearing anything. Her hair looks like it lost a fight with a ceiling fan, and her eyes are as empty as a crypto bro's promises. She's covered in bruises and enough red blood splatters to make a horror movie director proud. Zhou Yuming tells her it's time to go and shoots a look at Li Xiaosheng. Li, being the only guy here who apparently remembers his manners, takes off his jacket and drapes it over her skinny shoulders. Then we get the satisfying click of the silver bracelets being snapped onto her wrists. As they lead her out of the bedroom, I'm still glued to my computer screen, probably doing something incredibly heroic like ignoring my system updates. The second Fang Wen spots me. Her pupils shrink faster than a tech stock after a bad tweet. Her whole body shudders, and she ducks her gaze like she's trying to avoid an X at a grocery store. I take a break from my very busy schedule to give her a tiny, I see you smile, keeping my vibes as mysterious as the plot of a Christopher Nolan movie. Fast forward to the interrogation room. The blinding white lights are doing Fang Wen's pale face no favors. Between her fragile frame and all those bruises, she's looking like the poster child for life is pain. Zhou Yuming's eyes are looking more bloodshot than an intern after a 48-hour crunch session, but his energy is surprisingly high. He looks her dead in the eye and asks if she's ready to confess, noting that the marks all over her body tell quite a story. The forensics nerds matched the blood splatter perfectly, basically recreating the moment Fang Wen turned the victim's spleen into a pinball machine with a utility knife. Fang Wen's face is totally blank, looking about as lively as a smartphone with a cracked screen. He doesn't even wait for Detective Zhou Yuming to pull the good cop, bad cop routine before he starts spilling the tea. He admits he's the one who sent the guy to the big respawn point in the sky. Turns out the victim tried to get non-consensually handsy, so Fang Wen played the ultimate "I'll ruin your life" card. He threatened to call the boss or just die in the guy's living room so the cops would put his shady lifestyle under a microscope. The victim actually fell for it. While the guy was busy outside picking a fight with some girl named Lin Yan, Fang Wen went through his stuff and found his stash of knockout drugs. Talk about poetic justice, getting roofied by your own supply. As soon as the guy stepped back into the basement, Fang Wen drugged him, ended his subscription to life, and did a quick DIY makeover on the crime scene before hiding back in the basement. Zhou Yuming arches an eyebrow. Classic detective trope, he probably practiced that in a mirror for 10 years, and asks if he heard sirens while he was playing Extreme Home Makeover, Murder Edition. Fang Wen is an open book now, admitting he heard the fuzz coming but didn't know who snitched. He just cleaned up faster than a teenager hearing their parents' car in the driveway and vanished into the shadows. Then I jump in, keeping my voice level even though my eyes are colder than a middle manager's heart. I ask him point blank, "Fang Wen, why the hell did you frame me?" I bring up the fact that he and Xu Qianqian probably cooked up this entire murder mystery plot together. That's why he swiped my utility knife right when Zheng Chao was dragging him away. Fang Wen just closes his eyes, giving us the silent treatment while the only sound in the room is Li Xiaosheng scribbling down the confession like he's trying to win a speed typing contest. The scratching sound of a pen lasts for several minutes before Fang Wen finally looks up. He meets my cold, expressionless stare with a miserable little smirk. He admits it. The utility knife? Yeah, he took it. He wore gloves specifically to frame me, and he's the one who wiped the chat logs off Zheng Chaojie's phone. Detective Zhou Yuming frowns. Before I can even open my mouth, he beats me to it. He asks the million-dollar question, why? Lin Yan was actually a decent boss. His pay was way higher than the industry average, and everyone knew it. Zhou Yuming taps his pen on the case file, looking genuinely confused. According to the investigation, the company culture was top tier, no toxic overtime, a great office vibe, basically the kind of workplace that people would sell their left kidney to join. It's the literal dream for anyone stuck in the 9-to-5 grind. So why frame the guy who's actually treating you like a human being instead of a replaceable gear in a machine? Fang Wen's lip twitches. He looks away, his voice dropping an octave as he starts his villain origin story, which, spoiler alert, is absolute trash. He says Lin Yan is rich, he's got money, he's got connections, and his dad is the legendary Lin Kanghai. In Fang Wen's warped little brain, even if Lin Yan got hit with the death penalty, his family would find a way to let him walk out of prison like he's just finishing a shift at a boba shop. At this point, Fang Wen actually manages to squeeze out a single tear. He whines that he's just a regular person with no money and no background. He says if he gets caught, his life is over. And then he says the quiet part out loud. Since the boss is so rich, why couldn't he just take the fall for him? Like a murder charge is just some corporate tax write-off or a premium subscription he can afford to pay for. Honestly, even Detective Zhou Yuming is stunned by this logic. He was expecting a deep-seated blood feud or some classic revenge plot, But instead, he's just dealing with a guy who's reached level 99 in mental gymnastics. This guy Fang Wen is a special kind of heartless. He decides to kill someone and then frames his boss. Seriously, the audacity is on another level. Fang Wen, you absolute scholar of scumbaggery. I just sat there, staring into his soul with all the enthusiasm of a guy waiting for a 10-hour software update, while I forced myself to swallow every creative insult currently screaming in my head. If I weren't sitting in a literal interrogation room, I'd be dropping words that would get me permanently banned from every server on the internet. When Zhou Yuming finally finished the interrogation and found me, I was already camped out in his office, typing away like a caffeinated raccoon on a deadline. The printer next to me had churned out a stack of paper so thick it looked like a literal brick. Seriously, you could knock a person out with this much evidence. Zhou Yuming picked up a small pile, flipped through a few pages, and his expression went colder than a frozen pizza. He sat down at his desk and dove into the work. About an hour later, I snapped my laptop shut and stood up, hitting a stretch that made my spine sound like a bowl of Rice Krispies. I told him, "All right, Captain Zhou Yuming, it's a wrap. I've gone through that sketchy adult video site and stripped it to the bone. I've printed every IP address and piece of evidence, and even saved the actual video of Fang Wen's murder spree right on the desktop. The rest is in your hands." As I spoke, I slid the laptop over to the middle of the desk. Leaning against Zhou Yuming's desk, I decide to drop a little friendly reminder. I tell him, "Look, I've managed to sniff out the exact locations of all those bottom feeders who've been drugging people and filming them for that sketchy website. But here's the kicker, there are a lot of them." I tell him they'd better round them all up in one giant net. If they get a whiff of the cops and scatter like roaches when the lights come on, I might not have the time to bail them out again. My schedule is currently tighter than a pair of skinny jeans on a gym bro who skipped leg day. As Zhou Yuming starts to stand up from his chair to play the polite host, I wave him off like I'm dismissing a bad pop-up ad. I pull my temporary ID out and toss it on the desk. "Don't bother getting up, big guy. I already called a ride. Catch ya on the flip side." Before he can even get a word out, I'm out of there faster than a toddler who just heard the word bath. I bolt for the exit of the security bureau like a golden retriever that's been locked in a studio apartment for a week. Li Xiaosheng looks up from a mountain of paperwork that looks about as fun as a 40-hour live stream of someone reading terms and conditions. He chuckles to himself, muttering that with how fast I'm running, people would think I'm the one who's actually committed a crime. By the time I get home, our nanny, Li Yi, is busy making the place look like it doesn't belong to a chaotic protagonist. She hears me coming, wipes her wet hands on her apron, and her face lights up with enough wrinkles of joy to make a Shar-Pei jealous. "Xiaoyan, you're back. What are you craving for lunch? And what kind of fruits and drinks are we packing for your trip to the office today?" I actually have to pause for a second. The office? Oh, right. I forgot I actually own a company. It's hard to keep track of my corporate empire when my brain has the attention span of a goldfish on an espresso bender. I shake it off and tell her, "Nah, skip the office today. I'm playing hooky. Just keep lunch to the usual menu." My dad, Lin Konghai, is always busy being a corporate titan, and my mom, Leng Shiqing, is basically married to her government job, so they're never home. During the day, it's just me and Li Yi. After giving her the rundown, I start heading off with a spring in my step, feeling light as a feather. Our boy sprints upstairs and dives into his room like he's trying to hide a suspicious browser history from his mom. Finally, he summons that status window he's been thirsting over for ages. Before, the screen was just a blank slab of disappointment saying, but now it's flashing 3 big gold shiny words, available to unlock. Lin Yan rubs his hands together with the kind of greasy excitement usually reserved for guys unboxing a rare skin in a rigged gacha game. With a quick thought, the screen finally fills with text. "Welcome to the Genius 100 form system. Host name, Lin Yan. Age 19. Points 0, which is exactly how much money is left in my retirement fund." Then we get to the stats. Physical strength is an 8, speed is a 9, and stamina is an 8. Since the average human sits at a 10, our guy is officially a bit of a weakling. However, his spirit is at a 15, meaning he's got more mental fortitude than a customer service rep during a holiday sale. And then there's his first special skill. It's literally titled, "I just like playing with knives, so what?" So the mission target comes with a statute of limitations ranging from 3 to 30 days. If I don't get bagged by the peacekeepers during that window, I get bonus points. I couldn't help but smack my lips. Look, Tongzi, when other isekai protagonists meet their systems, they usually get a fat red envelope or some legendary starter pack. But you're acting like a landlord during a recession. You didn't give me any broken OP skills when we bonded, and now that I've actually finished a mission, you're still being stingy with the points. I looked at the 6 dots of silence on the floating info panel and gave it my best disappointed father face, hitting it with a verbal barrage that would make a customer service rep quit on the spot. Maybe the system finally got tired of my whining because those dots connected into a line and that cold, robotic voice finally rang out in my head. Due to the host's outstanding performance, their words, not mine, I'm getting 100 points and 1 random skill card. Oh ho! A semi-transparent card, thin as a cicada's wing, just materialized in the air. I snatched it out of the sky but didn't stop my verbal assault. Seriously, Tongzi, did you actually swallow my newbie gift bag? What kind of system spirit does that? You're embezzling my rewards! Where's the report button? I'm taking this to the high command. I'm filing a formal complaint with the celestial HR. Just as I was getting legitimately worked up and feeling some real-life salt, a tiny notification box popped up in front of me. Points +1. Wow, look at Mr. Moneybags over here. This guy is throwing around gifts like he's discovered an infinite gold glitch. I was just standing there, taking a slow breath and seriously weighing the pros and cons of shaking down this Tongzi kid for a few more drops of sweet, sweet loot when things got weird. That translucent card in my grip suddenly went crack, shattering into a million shimmering shards that took a literal nosedive straight into my palm. The sound made me jump like I'd just been caught looking at my browser history, but when I looked down, my hand was perfectly fine. No blood, no scratches, just a brand new notification popping up on my system panel like an unskippable ad. Congratulations, host. You've just unlocked a new skill, the peak of human potential. The description basically says my training has reached a level that would make an Olympic athlete look like a potato. My physical stats are getting a total makeover. Speed, agility, leg power, and durability are all getting a massive buff. The system claims I'll be moving like the wind and kicking tigers into the next zip code. I've officially got the ultimate zoomies. But wait, because there is always a catch. The system's voice sounded way too much like a telemarketer selling me a dream opportunity. It says, "Young man, you've now got the legs of a god. Aren't you just dying to go for a heart-pounding run?" And then, the trap. I've triggered a mission called "Fine, I'll Run, Just for Fun." Here is the deal. Within the next 24 hours, I have to pick a target and get them to chase me for a full 60 minutes. And they have to be willing to do it, though I'm pretty sure the system's definition of willing involves a lot of screaming and rage. If I get caught and tagged during that hour, the penalty is a 50% cut to all my core attributes. It's like a soul-crushing tax audit, but for my muscles. My smug grin vanished faster than a dad going out for a pack of cigarettes. This trash system is definitely trolling me. It's pure, calculated revenge, and I am finally starting to realize, talk about shooting yourself in the foot. I slowly raise my perfectly uninjured right hand and offer the floating status panel a very straight, very intentional middle finger. I have a choice string of words involving the system's mother that I'd love to shove directly into its source code. After taking enough deep breaths to pass a yoga certification, I finally calm down, close the quest window, and check my attributes. Unsurprisingly, after picking up that one small kick is the human limit skill, which sounds like a Gym Bros LinkedIn headline. Every stat except my mental attributes got a serious boost. My strength is now at 17 and my speed is at 18. As for my endurance, well, the system is clearly ghosting me like a Tinder match after I sent a weird meme because it hasn't given me any feedback in ages. After scouring the shop interface from top to bottom like I'm looking for hidden fees on a phone bill, I finally spot a tiny little, the shop's refresh button costs 100 points a pop. Basically, if our boy here is swimming in enough points, he can turn himself into a literal god-tier Swiss Army knife. My eyes stop for a second on a special skill called "Who in their right mind works for a living?" Seriously, author? In this economy, that's some top-tier projection right there. Anyway, I pass on the corporate slave life and drop my points on the Baji Quan technique instead. Now, look, that other skill seemed interesting, but I'm a certified, gold-plated silver spooner, not even counting the 2 million credits that hit my allowance every month. My current bank balance has more digits than a desperate scam caller's phone number. Work? Is that a new Netflix original? I wouldn't know. Even without a system, I'm basically retired at birth. If that skill was 100 points, I might have bought it for the meme, but for 1,000. I'm rich, not brain dead. The system chimes in. Congratulations, host. You've acquired Baji Quan, strength +3, speed +2, and stamina +2. In literally 3 seconds, every bone-crushing move of this martial art is hardwired into my muscle memory. It's a total trip. My brain knows for a fact I've never stepped foot in a dojo or been bullied by a sensei, yet these strikes are burned into my soul like a cringy memory from middle school. Using them feels as natural as breathing or checking your phone for a notification that isn't there. I'm feeling myself about to drop one of those classic, I'm the main character, maniacal laughs, when a knock on the door completely kills the vibe. It's Auntie Lee, her voice dripping with that kind of sweetness that makes you think she knows exactly what kind of weirdness you're up to. She asks if dinner is happening in the dining room or if I want it delivered to my lair. I suppress the urge to keep flexing, clear my throat, and tell her I'll be down in a bit. Just leave it on the table. Gotta get my head back in the game before I go down there. I scrubbed the grime off my face, swapped my gear, and headed downstairs. To my absolute shock, the dining room isn't empty. Sitting there like she's about to fire the entire board of directors is a woman with a killer silhouette and a face that says I don't shop at sales. That's my dear mother, Lung Shi-chin. I pause for a microsecond before putting on my best I'm a good son face and heading over. Hey mom, she gives a little nod, looking all high and mighty like she's playing a game of 4D chess, and everyone else is just a pawn. She's the definition of elegant, noble, and completely unbothered. Or at least she was for about 5 seconds. The moment my butt hits the cushion, the classy mask slides off faster than a bad toupee in a hurricane. She lunges across the table and grabs my face with both hands, squeezing my cheeks like she's trying to find the filling in a cheap dumpling. All right, you little brat, fess up. What kind of mess did you get into this time? Why are people investigating me because of your nonsense? Even though she's smiling like a ray of sunshine, her grip is pure iron. She's treating my face like a stress relief toy she bought during a late-night manic shopping spree. Tell me right now, did you ruin some poor girl's life? Why haven't you brought her home yet? Let me be clear, if the girl you pick can't pass my vibe check, you better find 5 million, which is about $700,000, throw it at her head, and tell her to get lost. I'm honestly about to pass away right then and there. I lean back as far as I can, slurring my words like I just had 4 shots of Novocaine. No, I'm being framed. I'm innocent. Now, Lung Shi-chin has read more people than a veteran HR manager at a tech giant, so she sees the soul-crushing honesty in my eyes. She lets go and starts rubbing my sore cheeks with her palms, still laughing. Fine, then what's the deal, kid? Who's got the massive stones to try and frame my son? Finally, I can speak without sounding like I've got a mouthful of marbles. According to the original host's memories, trying to escape the demon claws of his mother, Leng Shqing, is about as easy as trying to cancel a gym membership. I gave up on the physical struggle and just whipped out my phone, showing her the photo of the temporary ID Zhou Yuming got for me. I told her, look, I was framed, labeled the prime suspect, and interrogated for over 10 hours straight. Maybe it was some primal biological instinct or the way her eyes actually looked concerned, which is a rare miracle for a manhua parent, but I ended up spilling the beans like a broken vending machine, recounting every crazy detail of the last 48 hours. After we finished a surprisingly chill dinner, Leng Shiqing didn't even stop to change her clothes before grabbing her bag and heading out. I sat in the living room, watching her slim figure hurry away, and just shook my head in disbelief. Based on the lore of this world, this lady is the ultimate final boss for our actual main character, Zhou Chuanbai. She's not like the businessman Lin Hai. She's got real-deal political clout. She holds a high-ranking position in some classified agency that's so top secret the author probably forgot to even give it a name. Talk about peak trust me bro world building. I'm not sure how much the story is hyping her up, but she's been a massive thorn in the side for the hero's investigation. Honestly, without her influence, no amount of Lin Hai's money would have kept the original host from being tossed into a dungeon for the last 1,000 chapters. Just then, a ding from my phone pulled me out of my internal monologue. I looked down, unlocked the screen, and a bank transfer notification was staring right back at me. Look at that. Big Beauty Leng just wired me 500,000 bucks with a note telling me to go touch some grass and take a few days off work. Mom, is that you? Because I've never felt more related to someone in my life. Seriously, who needs a therapist when you have a bank balance that looks like a phone number? My soul-crushing sadness didn't just vanish. It got evicted by a stack of Benjamins. Forget, haha is the best medicine. Cold, hard cash is the only prescription I need. Meanwhile, in a low-key black sedan crawling out of the villa gates, Leng Shiqing is sitting in the passenger seat looking colder than the frozen section at a grocery store. Her eyes are sharp enough to cut glass, but the second she sees the meme I sent her, the ice melts. She actually pulls a tiny smirk, don't blink or you'll miss the character development. She copies a number from the chat, hits the call button, and starts making moves. Switch over to Zhou Yu Ming, who's currently playing human forklift with a mountain of evidence he's moving into Captain Wen Xiangjun's office. These papers are a one-way ticket to prison for a bunch of bottom feeders who've been using special vitamins to force women into filming spicy videos for the dark web. Zhou is the kind of guy who answers every unknown call, even if he was in the middle of a boss fight or a tax audit. He's got that classic hero complex. What if it's a life or death emergency? What if 5 minutes makes the difference between a rescue and a tragedy? So he picks up without a second thought. Hello, who is this? On the other end of the line, a voice as smooth as silk and twice as expensive replies, hello, I am Leng Ke. Zhou Yu Ming stands there with his mouth hanging open like a malfunctioning animatronic. If this were a movie, this is where the danger do not enter signs would start flashing in 4K. Before today, the name Leng Shiqing wouldn't have meant anything to him, but things changed when he started digging into our suspect Lin Yan's family tree. Out of 7 background check requests he sent out, 6 of them got slapped back into his face faster than a user not found error on a banned social media account. The only person he could actually find was the dad, Lin Hai, who just runs a normal company. But everyone else? Total radio silence. It wasn't just a no comment situation. It was a this person doesn't exist in reality situation. He tried searching the internal police database multiple times, and the system basically gave him the middle finger every time. It's that specific brand of existential dread you feel when you realize you're accidentally poking a nest of giant, high-level hornets. Now, looking at a phone screen that doesn't even show a number, just a bunch of signal bars like some cursed tech-noir prop, Zhou Yu Ming is officially having a mental breakdown. Nearby, Wen Xiangjun looks up from his tea, probably wondering why his buddy looks like he just saw his own funeral. What's the deal? Who's calling? Wen asks. On the other end of the line, Leng Shiqing lets out a soft, chilling giggle. Captain Zhou, no need to be formal. You can just call me Mrs. Lin. Joe wipes the cold sweat off his forehead and onto his pants, trying to act like his heart isn't doing a drum solo in his chest. "Haha, Mrs. Lin. Hello, good to hear from you." He grabs a pen off Wen Xiangjun's desk, his hands shaking like he's trying to sign a contract with the devil himself. Wen Xiangjun spots 3 words on a white piece of paper: Leng Shiqing. The second he sees that name, he closes his eyes like he's watching a cringy corporate training video and gives Zhou Yuming a thumbs up. It's the universal sign for congratulations, you're screwed, before he immediately looks away to avoid any collateral damage. Just then, Leng Shiqing's voice cracks through the phone. She's pulling the classic "I'm just a concerned mother" card, admitting that while she blocked every single one of his investigation warrants like a pro-level goalie, she's now willing to answer questions since Lin Yan's life is on the line. Instead of feeling relieved, Zhou Yuming starts sweating harder than a guy whose wife just asked why his phone is locked at 3 in the morning. He starts backpedaling so fast he's practically breaking the laws of physics. "Misunderstanding. Total mistake, Madam Leng. We've completely cleared Lin Yan of any suspicion. No need to look at the family at all." He's practically singing her praises now, rambling about how the police department rewards heroes and how Lin Yan's valuable help was the key to the whole case. He even promises to personally deliver a shiny honorary title and a fat stack of reward money as soon as the big bosses sign the paperwork. Leng Shiqing lets out a laugh that sounds as sweet as a silver bell and as comforting as a jump scare in a horror movie. She thanks Captain Zhou and mentions her son's 19th birthday is coming up. She tells him she'll send an invitation and expects him to grace them with his presence, which is high society speak for show up or else. Meanwhile, inside a smooth riding car, Leng Shiqing's face is a total blank mask while she casually twirls a small, shiny silver handgun like it's a fidget spinner. Talk about a helicopter parent with some serious hardware. By the time she hangs up, Zhou Yuming looks like he's just woken up from a fever dream. He turns to old Wen and tells him he needs to take a few days off before his brain officially melts. Wen Xiangjun stares at Zhou Yuming, whose face is currently twisted into an expression of pure, unadulterated misery, the kind you only see when someone realizes they've been billed for a subscription they forgot to cancel 3 years ago. Wen taps his pen cap against a stack of paperwork thick enough to be used as a blunt force weapon. He's like, "Listen, we still have more perps to bag than there are plot holes in a low-budget multiverse movie. You're the deputy captain of the administrative brigade. How can you even think about quitting now?" Zhou Yuming doesn't even respond with words. He just gives Wen a look that says, "I am ready for the sweet embrace of death," staring at the old man like he's the last functional life raft on the Titanic. Wen sighs, probably wondering if his pension is worth this much secondhand depression, takes a sip of his tea, and goes into full disappointed mentor mode. "Look, little Joe, I'm hitting the exit button on this career soon. Everyone knows it. This massive crime network, you're the one who dragged it into the light. If you bail on the final phase, some other career-climbing suck-up is going to swoop in and ninja all your XP. This case is high-profile enough to have the big wigs in the ministry watching. You play your cards right, and you're basically a lock to inherit my desk. Are you seriously going to just Alt-4 out of here?" Zhou Yuming lets out a sigh that carries the weight of 1,000 unpaid internships. "Boss, I already offended Leng Shiqing. In terms of my career ladder, I haven't just hit a ceiling, I've hit a reinforced concrete vault. I'm at my peak, and it's all downhill from here. Besides, let's be honest, the only reason we mapped out those IP addresses and got the receipts is because Lin Yan did all the heavy lifting. All I did was get him a temporary work ID and a laptop that probably struggles to run Minesweeper. I didn't even buy him a decent steak for his trouble. I just fed him the free mystery meat from our staff canteen." The more Joe talks, the more he realizes he's basically been a glorified background NPC in his own story. His face gets even gloomier as he continues. The rest of the job isn't even a challenge. It's just a matter of coordinating the local police forces across the country to bag the entire network in a 24-hour blitz. Honestly, whether I show up for the final cutscene or not, the result is going to be exactly the same. Wen Xiangjin watches the guy acting like he's just been voted off a reality TV island and shakes his head in disbelief. Alright, stop acting like Lady Leng Lin is some kind of monster. There's a brief pause in the conversation, but it's long enough for Zhou Yuming's eyes to sparkle like he just found an unpatched exploit in a video game. Old Wen, do you know what her actual job title is? Wen gives him a massive eye roll and tells him to kick rocks. My only advice is to stop assuming the worst about people. Now scram, I've got to go through these files myself. Go do your own thing. Cut to our main man, where the system finally pings. Congratulations, host. You completed the theft mission without getting bagged by the cops. Here's your base reward of 100 points. There's a 3-day statute of limitations. If he doesn't end up in handcuffs within the next 72 hours, he gets a 300-point bonus. The system tells him to stay low-key and keep grinding for that top spot. I just stare at the holographic prompt with a look of pure frustration and slowly extend my middle finger. This system is stingier than a corporate boss at an annual bonus meeting. 100 points? That's barely enough for one refresh in the item shop. If I hadn't managed to finesse 1,100 points out of this system when we first met, I'd be trying to stretch a single 0.8 ways like a group of broke roommates sharing a single streaming account. I rub my temples, trying to figure out the next move. This kind of mission is tricky. I can't just pick a random pedestrian, snatch their phone, and pray they decide to play track and field with me. Whether or not they actually chase me is honestly the secondary concern. If the victim decides to call the cops, this mission is basically a speedrun to a game over screen. Let's be real, even with the thickest plot armor in the world, I'm not outrunning a squad car or a lead sandwich flying at Mach Jesus. Plus, if I actually stage a street robbery and get chased for an hour like some low-budget GTA 5-star wanted level, Lin Konghai wouldn't just ground me, he'd personally audit my legs until they cease to exist. My survival and my dignity are the only two things on the VIP list right now. After scrolling through his contacts like he's looking for a designated driver on a Tuesday, Lin Yan finally hits up a guy nicknamed Hao Zi. He sends a quick message, "Yo, you free to hang out?" The reply comes back so fast it's basically a jump scare. Hao Zi is one of those dudes whose phone is probably surgically grafted to his palm. Lin Yan does the classic facepalm of regret and sends over the location for a high-end private restaurant he remembers. Hao Zi is already there in spirit, promising not to be late. Thinking back on his history with this guy, Lin Yan chuckles and goes ahead and books 2 VIP passes for a hot spring spa. Why pick Hao Zi for this? Because the man is a certified gym rat with a physique that says, "I eat protein powder for breakfast and I've never skipped leg day in my life." If Lin Yan dangles the right bait, this human tank will happily agree to an hour of urban parkour like he's auditioning for an Assassin's Creed movie. It's not even peak summer yet, but sprinting for 60 minutes straight is going to turn anyone into a human swamp. Once the mission is cleared, Lin Yan figures they can just hit the springs and get a massage. It's a total bro tier plan. But then Lin Yan suddenly realizes Lin Yan's smug little smirk froze faster than a budget smartphone trying to run a high-end mobile game. Chapter 14. How am I supposed to live without you, Yanzi? If his memory isn't totally glitched, he remembers that Yu Hao is a guy who, how do we put this delicately, prefers his partners to be from the same locker room. Usually tricking a bro into a dinner date, making him run a marathon for a solid hour, and then capping it off with a steamy hot spring session is just a regular Tuesday for some people. But for Yu Hao, it's basically a marriage proposal. They've been ride or die since they were kids, so Yu Hao might not overthink it, but his actual boyfriend is definitely going to have some angry ex on a reality show energy if he finds out. Lin Yan is just here to grind for quest points, not to be the lead in a messy homewrecker drama. If Yu Hao picks Lin Yan, the boyfriend goes nuclear. If Yu Hao stays loyal, Lin Yan loses his quest. It's a classic lose-lose, like choosing between a 12-hour firmware update or a blue screen of death. After digging through his mental contact list like a desperate recruiter, he finally finds a buffer, Gu Wenting. Once she's invited, Lin Yan finally breathes out, feeling like the mission is finally in the bag. Our protagonist has no clue that inviting Gu Wenting is the only big brain move he's made since he transmigrated into this script. As the sun starts to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in a dramatic cinematic filter, the chaos begins. Yanzi, just let me grab you for a second. Yanzi, holy crap, you dog, when did you get so fast? Yanzi, you're injured? Seriously, this is how we're doing this. Someone call the devs because the balancing in this world is absolute trash. Look at these three specimens hauling ass down a street so deserted it looks like a game server 5 minutes before a permanent shutdown. Our main man Lin Yan is leading the pack, and even though Yu Hao is back there cursing him out like a guy who just found out his gym membership auto-renewed, Lin Yan can't stop smirking. Why? Because the system is currently running a quest called I'm just running for the hell of it. Yeah, the author really gave up on the naming department for that one. We've got exactly 9 minutes and 21 seconds left on the clock. Honestly, Lin Yan is barely even trying, and he's already hitting the absolute limit of human biology. With 18 points pumped into his speed stat, he's basically a Ferrari weaving through a school zone. Even though Yu Hao and Gu Wenting clearly haven't been skipping leg day or their CrossFit sessions, they're still eating dust. But Lin Yan is being a total menace. He's dangling the carrot, staying just close enough to give them hope. It's the ultimate psychological warfare, like an internet provider that promises lightning speeds but only gives you enough bandwidth to buffer a low-res cat video. As long as those two think they have a prayer of catching him, Lin Yan can just coast until the timer hits 0. With only about 2 or 3 minutes left on the clock, Yu Hao hits a new level of peak desperation. He starts howling like he's auditioning for a low-budget soap opera. Yanzi, wait for me. How am I supposed to live without you, Yanzi? Seriously, dude, have some dignity. You're making a scene. Did you get dumped recently? Or did your brain just short-circuit during your last stint in the slammer? Look at Gu Wenting in that high-end custom suit. How do you have the cold, black heart to scam him? He's our ride or die, our brother from another mother. Gu Wenting, who's been silently trying to keep up with Lin Yan this whole time, turns his head and gives Yu Hao a look that says, "Do you even hear the absolute garbage coming out of your mouth right now?" Compared to Yu Hao, Gu Wenting is the king of the silent treatment, but let's be real, Yu Hao isn't exactly a saint himself. Getting called out on his nonsense, Yu Hao's face drops faster than a bad stock option. Come on, Gu, you're doing me dirty. I'm doing this for your own good. Lin Yan just chuckles, looking back at these two as their legs move faster than a cooling fan on a budget laptop. He gives them a big thumbs up. 1 minute left. Whoever beats me gets that entertainment company. Oh, and I'll even call the winner Daddy for a whole month. Look, forget the company and the assets. The battle for male dominance and the divine title of father is the only thing that matters in the hierarchy of bros. Hearing this, Yu Hao and Gu Wenting look like they've been injected with pure adrenaline and caffeine. They charge toward Lin Yan with bloodshot eyes, like they're sprinting for the last open checkout lane on Black Friday. Yan, be a good boy and stop running. Just let me grab you once. Just once, Yu Hao screams. But Gu Wenting, despite being decked out in a full suit, takes the corporate shark approach. Lin Yan, forget the race. I'll buy your company at the full market price. Yu Hao's soul practically leaves his body at the sheer audacity. Are you kidding me, Gu? You can't just pay to win. Where's your honor? Lin Yan, don't listen to this beast in a designer suit. This was a totally fair race. Right as Lin Yan is about to turn his head, a digital notification pops up. A soulless electronic voice rings in his ear. Congrats, host! You survived an hour without getting caught. Mission: I am just gonna run is complete. The rewards? 250 points, 2 free attribute points, and some ghost in broad daylight soul-binding incense. Lin Yan is hyped about the loot, even though the point total is a total middle finger from the system. Seriously, in Chinese, the number 250 is basically calling someone a moron. It is like getting a bonus at work, but the check is signed to my favorite idiot. Lin Yan yells out that time is up and shifts from a sprint into a casual walk. Yu Hao is currently clutching his chest, gasping for air like he just saw his entire crypto portfolio hit zero. He slaps Lin Yan on the shoulder and wheezes, "You absolute dog. Since when did you get this fast? You were totally sandbagging the whole time, weren't you? Playing the weak little pig, just so you could eat the tiger later." Meanwhile, Gu Wenting is over there acting like he is filming a luxury watch commercial. He pulls his tie out, fixes the knot, and checks his watch with the kind of calm energy you only see in corporate villains who lay off half the company before lunch. He looks like a total refined scumbag, the kind of guy who would sue his own shadow for trespassing. Lin Yan feels a bit guilty under that piercing gaze, but still, Lin Yan gives a little nod. Honestly, a solid run makes everything feel better. Plus, she's got a secret mission to keep under wraps, and she's not about to leak that spoiler to her friends. Since Gu Wenting already thinks she's just traumatized after their little trip to the Orange, and no, we aren't talking fruit, that's slang for the police station, Lin Yan decides to just ride that wave of misunderstanding. The three of them walk down the wide street for nearly 10 minutes, covering about 800 meters or roughly half a mile until their breathing finally stabilizes. That's when Lin Yan reveals her big brain move for the afternoon. She's booked a session at the Hua Qingqi hot springs to soak their weary bones. Yu Hao pats her chest, a massive grin spreading across her face like she just found a forgotten 20 in her pocket. She starts to say, "Nice move, Yanzi," but she doesn't even get to finish the sentence. The healthy flush from the run drains out of her face faster than a phone battery on a cold day. Her eyes bulge, and she starts tilting backward like a Jenga tower in a hurricane. Gu Wenting catches her before she hits the pavement. Lin Yan's expression shifts instantly. She snaps into commander mode, telling Gu Wenting to lay her flat on the ground. Lin Yan says she'll call 120, that's the emergency line for those of you not caught up on the local lore, and tells Gu Wenting to contact a private doctor. Gu Wenting doesn't even blink, she just acts. She ignores the bit about the private doctor, rolls up her sleeves, and drops to one knee. She starts pumping Yu Hao's chest with the kind of rhythmic CPR skill that suggests she's watched way too many medical dramas. Seeing her friend handle the heart pumping, Lin Yan keeps her voice steady and fast on the phone. She tells the operator, "My friend just passed out. She was clutching her chest right before she went down. We're performing CPR now. Get an ambulance to the intersection of Wutong East Road and Baihua Street immediately." But right as the words leave her mouth, something appears right in front of Lin Yan. A system notification pops up, and his pupils shrink faster than a tech CEO's soul during a layoff. His phone hits the floor with a pathetic clatter. Chapter 15. Guess who's a suspect again? Spoiler alert, it's our guy. The system basically sends him a great job on the homicide greeting card. Since he actively participated in the setup without even having a mission, the rewards are doubled. 666 points? Seriously? Is the system a middle schooler from 2010? He also banks 4 attribute points and a special skill, and apparently despite being a young guy, he's now aged beyond his years. Talk about a midlife crisis in your 20s. He scores an item called the Pillar of Sword Might and some transparent force power-up. Lin Yan's brain is buffering. The words on the screen are blurrier than a drunk guy's vision at 3 a.m. It takes a few seconds before he finally squats down and reaches for Yu Hao's wrist. It's quiet. Not library quiet, but dead silence quiet. Even though Gu Wenting is over there performing CPR like she's trying to jumpstart a dead Tesla, there's no pulse. Yu Hao's heart has officially left the building. Lin Yan closes his eyes. his lips pressed into a line flatter than a corporate apology. Sure, he's a transmigrator who barely knew the dude, but watching a life flicker out like a cheap LED bulb right in front of his face hits different. Plus, the original owner's leftover emotions are leaking out like a spilled bucket of neon paint, making his chest feel tighter than a pair of skinny jeans after Thanksgiving dinner. He finally realizes the grim reality. He can't save him. Gu Wenting finally stops her frantic chest compressions and looks over at Lin Yan, who looks like she's currently experiencing a mental blue screen of death. Gu Wenting gives her a pat on the shoulder, basically saying, "I did what I could." According to her own math, she definitely snapped at least 2 of the guy's ribs during that DIY heart surgery, but it didn't do jack squat. At this point, they're just praying the ambulance crew has better luck than a gotcha pull. Lin Yan just stares at Yu Hao's face, which is now looking as pale as a Victorian orphan who just saw his first electricity bill. Even though Gu Wenting is a pharmaceutical tycoon who's memorized half the medical textbooks on the planet, she's not a miracle worker. You can't just first aid your way out of a professional assassination attempt. Before long, the ambulance arrives, flashing its lights like a disco party that nobody actually wanted to attend. The medics rush Yu Hao onto the vehicle at top speed. Now, even though the system already popped up a giant game over notification in her head, Lin Yan is still holding on to that 1% chance, hoping the hospital's fancy gear can somehow reboot his heart like a crashed PC. But spoilers, life isn't a fairy tale. By the time they reach the hospital, they don't even get him into the operating room before the chief physician, who has enough white hair to look like a retired kung fu master, comes out with the "I have bad news" face. He drops the hammer, telling them to prepare for the funeral because Yu Hao has officially left the building. No vitals, no pulse, just a whole lot of nothing. Right on cue, Fang Ruowei rushes in, tears ruining a makeup job that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She's a total mess, sobbing and begging the doctor to save him, screaming that they have plenty of money. She's acting like the Grim Reaper takes bribes or has a premium subscription service. She looks like she's about to drop to her knees and audition for a Best Actress award right there in the hallway. Meanwhile, Lin Yan and Gu Wenting just lock eyes, both reading the same vibes in each other's stare. Everyone's looking pretty skeptical right now. I know, judging people's grief is usually a one-way ticket to being the villain in a Hallmark movie, but Yu Hao's besties know the real tea. His stepmother, Fang Ruowei, and him have a vibe that's less family dinner and more Game of Thrones. Ever since she had her own son, Yu Han, the fight over the company inheritance turned into a full-blown Cold War. According to Yu Hao, this woman is a total drama queen, the kind of pro actress who puts on a masterclass for his dad, but treats Yu Hao like a piece of furniture the rest of the time. Seeing her act this heartbroken is like watching a low-budget soap opera. The acting is just way too extra. Lin Yan isn't falling for it, mostly because his system screen is literally screaming that Yu Hao was murdered. He steps forward and asks the doc what actually killed his buddy. The doctor backs up a few steps, tells the nurse to catch the grieving widow before she does a dramatic floor collapse, and sighs. He says it was cardiac arrest and tells them to start the funeral prep, mentioning they can keep the body in the morgue for now. But Fang Ruowei is already one step ahead. Through her fake tears, she says she's already called the crematorium to get him settled immediately. Talk about efficiency. She's trying to turn the evidence into literal ash before anyone can prove this wasn't an accident. Lin Yan's forehead crinkles up like a bad laundry job as he pulls out his phone, his voice sounding as sharp and heavy as a sledgehammer. Wait, hold the phone and don't preheat the incinerator just yet. Lin Yan is smelling something fishier than a discount sushi bar, and he's ready to call the investigation unit to get a full autopsy started. But Fang Ruowei, she flips out instantly. Her eyes are redder than a low battery notification as she glares at Lin Yan. She starts wailing about how Hao Zi is already gone and that carving him up like a Thanksgiving turkey would be a total vibe kill for his soul. She's making it sound like Lin Yan is the villain here, crying enough tears to fill a kiddie pool. Honestly, if you didn't know better, you'd think she was auditioning for a lead role in a daytime soap opera. She asks Lin Yan if he's even a real friend, and the guilt tripping is stronger than a bad Wi-Fi signal. But now, it's not just Lin Yan who's suspicious, even Gu Wenting is sniffing out the cap. She steps up and says, "Auntie, according to Hao Zi's usual gym routine, nothing we did today should have been an issue. Plus, Uncle Yu had a checkup at my family's private hospital, and there is zero history of heart disease in their family. Dropping dead from a sudden cardiac arrest makes about as much sense as a terms and conditions agreement that nobody reads." She tells the lady that if she actually cared about Hao Zi, she wouldn't want him dying for no reason. Fang Ruowei gets hit with that logic bomb and goes totally speechless, retreating back into her crying into her hands safe space. Lin Yan gives her a look that says, "I am watching you," and pulls out his phone to call Captain Zhou Yuming. "Captain Zhou, it is me. I am at the First People's Hospital. I suspect my buddy's death was more rigged than a carnival game. Bring a few of your guys. Someone needs to get down here and haul this body to the forensics unit for an autopsy pronto." Now, Lin Yan wasn't exactly staring a hole through Fang Ruowei, but even with his peripheral vision, he could see her face shifting colors faster than a glitchy RGB keyboard. Cut to the inquiry room, where we meet Captain Zhou Yuming. This guy is rocking a hairstyle that looks like he let a literal hurricane be his personal stylist. He looks at Lin Yan with the pure, unadulterated exhaustion of a retail worker 5 minutes before closing. "Why are you back here again?" Lin Yan just shrugs his shoulders, basically saying, "Look, I'm not exactly here for the coffee, but I'm not letting my bro's death stay a mystery." Zhou Yuming rubs his temples like he's trying to delete a browser history full of regrets. "Let me guess, you're about to tell me Yu Hao's stepmother is up to something?" Before Lin Yan can even get a word in, the captain pulls out a cigarette and starts fiddling with it like a nervous intern, though he doesn't actually light the thing. His face is a total disaster zone. Imagine a ball of yarn that just lost a fight with a very angry house cat. "Too late, kid. She already filed charges against you and Gu Wenting. Surprise, you're officially a suspect." Lin Yan is thinking, wow, okay, great. He hadn't even started listing her massive red flags yet, and she already hit him with the ultimate no you card. It's honestly kind of impressive. 1 minute she's at the hospital speed dialing the crematorium like she's got a limited time coupon, and the next she's handing out lawsuits like she's Oprah. It's a level of pettiness that's almost respectable if it wasn't so disgusting. Lin Yan lets out a long sigh and looks down at the surprisingly comfy sofa he's sitting on. He's so annoyed he's actually starting to find it funny. "Captain Zhou, if I'm really the prime suspect in a murder case, your hospitality is a bit off, don't you think? There is a massive difference between a casual chat in the inquiry room and the actual interrogation hot seat. Usually, when someone gets accused of deleting a person, they get taken to the back room for some much less comfortable furniture and a very aggressive session of good cop, bad cop. Normally, the VIP lounge with its plush chairs and I'm not a threat vibes is reserved for the small-time losers. People who got caught stealing a single grape or getting into a slap fight over a parking spot. But when Lin Yan throws out a sarcastic comment, Zhou Yuming actually nods along like he's taking notes at a seminar. He tells Lin Yan he'll get the basics down here first, and then move him to the actual bright light and metal chair interrogation room once Gu Wenting finishes his confession. Seriously, this guy is treating Lin Yan like he's auditioning for a lead role in a serial killer documentary. Chapter 16. Don't underestimate the power of their bond or whatever the author is smoking today. Lin Yan is so annoyed he's practically vibrating. He lets out a dry laugh and pulls the ultimate annoyed teenager move, face planting onto the sofa and closing his eyes to let his body language do the talking. Zhou Yuming stands there, opening and closing his mouth like a confused goldfish before giving up, grabbing his smokes, and bailing. Once the door clicks shut, Lin Yan doesn't even bother opening his eyes. He just fires up his mental system panel. He starts scrolling through the notifications like he's looking for a hidden fee in a phone contract. In the original body owner's memories, he and Yu-hao were just typical frenemies who messed with each other for the laughs, nothing that would require a funeral director. But the system is straight up snitching, explicitly stating that Lin Yan assisted in a murder. Based on the cause of death being sudden cardiac arrest, Lin Yan realizes his assistance was probably that 1-hour run. Turns out, forcing someone into high-intensity cardio isn't just a bad gym bro move, because extreme exercise causes the heart to... Now, let's look at Yu-hao's daily grind. For a guy with his level of cardio, the distance he covered was basically just a light stretch before a real workout. Plus, his heart didn't just quit mid-sprint like a cheap smartphone in the winter. It waited until he was totally cooled down and breathing easy before it decided to pull the plug. Sketchy, right? And it gets better. Gu Wenting's family runs a private hospital because of course they do. Every rich side character needs a medical empire, and their records confirm Yu Hao and his old man Yu Yuanshan had zero heart issues. No genetic glitches, no hidden defects. This isn't just a red flag, it's a whole parade. And then there's Feng Ruowei. Even if she isn't the mastermind, she's definitely the one holding the bag. She was fighting the forensics team harder than a middle manager defending a pointless meeting, blocking the autopsy and trying to turn Yu Hao into a pile of ash faster than a speedrun. She wanted that cremation done yesterday to make sure the evidence stayed dead and buried. Lin Yan frowns, rolling over on the interrogation room sofa like he's trying to find the cool side of the pillow. He's about to check the system store for a plot-convenient power-up when something sharp pokes him in the pocket. He reaches in and pulls out 2 items that apparently skipped the delivery fee. First up, daylight ghost-seeing soul-wrapping incense. The description is basically a call-out post. Got a guilty conscience? Light this and face your inner demons, you coward. Then there's the detail, seeing transparent lens. A magical magnifying glass that zooms in on the weird stuff like an internet sleuth hunting for clues in a blurry reflection. Lin Yan stares at these 2 I win buttons, and a spicy idea starts cooking in his brain. If he lights this incense right under Feng Ruowei's nose and gives her the high-definition zoom-in treatment with the lens, things are about to get very uncomfortable for her. Lin Yan figured she might just crack this case wide open right here, right now. She suppressed a smirk, tucked the items safely into her pocket, and leaned back against the sofa. Time for some meditation, which is just manhua speak for scrolling through her new special skills while she pretends to nap. Now look, it makes total sense that our girl is barely 20, but somehow possesses the medical and poison expertise of a wizened hermit who spent 80 years in a cave. In this genre, having 40 years of experience before you're legally allowed to buy a beer is just standard operating procedure. The system pipes up, basically calling her a total embarrassment. It's offended that a poison master of her caliber would leave behind breadcrumbs in a basic murder case. Talk about a blow to the ego. The system then has the audacity to suggest she enroll in a continuing education course to level up her skills. It promises that after this professional development, she'll be able to whip up toxins with a 99% purity level. Seriously? What is this Breaking Bad? Is she supposed to start wearing a hazmat suit and calling everyone bitch? Lin Yan is about 2 seconds away from throwing her virtual UI into a dumpster fire. If she actually started producing 99% pure substances, Lin Konghai would be the first one to lead the raid on her house. You do not mess with the anti-drug task forces in this country unless you're looking for a permanent vacation in a 6x6 cell. She lets out a long, exhausted sigh, halfway between a scream and a laugh. She actually thought her system was turning a corner, but no. It's still the same annoying digital troll. Leaving clues? Disgraceful performance? She hasn't even poisoned Yu Hao yet. If there are traces of poison on him, they definitely didn't come from her. She's sitting there wondering how she herself could be. I wonder if Yu Hao had any of this big brain book knowledge in his head while someone was busy slipping poison into his drink. Lin Yan rubs his temples, trying to shove down the mental clutter because he's already got a pretty good idea of where this investigation is headed. It's not because he's a genius, it's because he's a cheater. Before he got Isekai D into this story, he read the original detective novel, My Years of Battling High IQ Criminals, from cover to cover. Seriously, who comes up with these titles? It sounds like a LinkedIn post from a guy who's definitely about to pitch you a crypto scam. Anyway, he knows the forensics, the suspects, and the plot twists like the back of his hand. Honestly, if it weren't for this absolute dumpster fire of a system he's stuck with, Lin Yan might have actually joined the police force. He'd be the LeBron James of the precinct, hitting nothing but net because he's already seen the replay. But no, this heaven-sent system is basically a cosmic middle finger. Just as he's cursing his luck, Zhou Yuming pushes the door open, giving Lin Yan a look that's 50% I'm over this and 50% please don't make this weird. He tells Lin Yan it's time to head to the interrogation room. Lin Yan just shrugs and follows him out without a word. He's back in his favorite spot, the interrogation room, featuring that signature blinding white light that's clearly designed to make everyone look like they've been awake for 3 years straight. Then comes the opening dialogue that Lin Yan has heard so many times he's basically developed an allergy to it. Name, Lin Yan. Gender, seriously? Does this look like a character customization screen to you? Age? Zhou Yuming sighs, fidgeting with an unlit cigarette like he's trying to win an award for most stressed government employee. He tells Lin Yan they just have to follow the standard operating procedure so the paperwork doesn't look like a toddler wrote it. He tells him to stop the nonsense. All right, Lin Yan. Officer Zhou is currently hitting Lin Yan with the kind of logic you would expect from a middle manager trying to deny your weekend overtime. He looks her dead in the eye and asks, why did you invite a guy who is now a corpse out for dinner and then proceed to sprint through the streets like you were auditioning for a track team? Lin Yan is officially done with this guy. She wonders if the police academy forgot to mention that having a social life isn't actually a felony. She snaps back, asking if she needs a signed permit just to grab a bite to eat. She tells him she has been seeing some dirty things lately and needed a night run to clear her head. Zhou Yuming gets the feeling that dirty things was a direct personal attack on his character, but he has got zero evidence, so he just sticks to the script. He moves on to the standard interrogation questions, asking why she thinks Yu Hao's death is a conspiracy. Once the legal foreplay is out of the way, they share a look that says they both know the real tea is about to be spilled. The topic shifts to the stepmother, Fang Ruowei. Zhou tries to act tough, warning Lin Yan that if she is just trying to distract the investigation, she is going to be in some deep legal trouble. But Lin Yan is as serious as a heart attack. She tells him that at the hospital, Fang Ruowei was on the phone with the crematorium faster than an influencer spotting a camera. The woman was desperate to turn the body into ash before the biological father even got a chance to see it. Zhou Yuming actually gives a nod of approval. This lines up perfectly with what Gu Wenting told him earlier. Fang Ruowei's behavior isn't just suspicious. It is a giant red flag waving in the middle of a hurricane. It is clear she is definitely hiding something under that grieving widow act. Since they are finally on the same page, Zhou tells Lin Yan to go wait in the inquiry room for a bit. While waiting for the lab results with Gu Wenting, Zhou Yuming doesn't even get to finish his sentence before Lin Yan cuts him off with that "I'm the main character" energy. She looks him straight in the eye and tells the captain she's joining the investigation as a temporary technical consultant. Welcome to Chapter 17, also known as How to Speedrun Ending Your Career. As soon as those words leave Lin Yan's mouth, the room goes silent. Not just Zhou Yuming, but even the rookie cop scribbling notes looks like his brain just hit a blue screen of death. I mean, come on. Buddy, is technical consultant a title you can just equip like a legendary skin? Do you actually have the skills, or do you just think you're some god-tier genius from a cultivation novel? Lin Yan just gives a slight frown and a nod. She says she's not about to let her best bro die without answers. And shockingly, Zhou Yuming actually buys it. He stands up, flips the little table on the interrogation chair, and marches Lin Yan out of there without looking back. The rookie cop is left staring, wondering if this girl is a VIP player with a platinum membership or just the director's secret nephew. Inside the forensic lab, the air is a nasty mix of blood, that wet rot stench, and enough chemicals to make a chemistry teacher faint. Lin Yan masks up, snaps on some gloves, and walks over to Yu Hao's cold slab with eyes colder than a winter in Siberia. She doesn't say a word to the young female coroner who's busy playing with test tubes like a mad scientist. She just goes straight for Lin Yan pulls a magnifying lens out of his pocket, likely a gadget he swiped from a sci-fi set, and hovers the palm-sized glass over Yu Hao's body. The magnification is so crisp, he can see every single pore and individual arm hair on the guy's pale skin, which is a level of detail literally nobody asked for. After a moment, our resident, unnecessarily attractive female forensic doctor, because apparently you need a 10-step skincare routine to solve murders in this universe, puts down a test tube that didn't even change color. She scribbles some chicken scratch in her notebook that looks like a toddler's interpretation of a QR code and walks over to Zhou Yuming. She reports that the cause of death was definitely a sudden cardiac arrest triggered by an arrhythmia. There wasn't a trace of drugs in his stomach, but his blood was swimming in a high concentration of tricyclic antidepressants. Zhou Yuming hits Lin Yan with the "was he having a bad week" look and asks if the victim was actually depressed. Behind his mask, Lin Yan's lips twitch. Since he's basically a walking Wikipedia for poisons, he knows exactly what happened. This was a textbook overdose. The meds sent the heart into a tailspin, which is why he flatlined even after his breathing had stabilized. But the lady doctor isn't vibing with his main character energy. She gets all defensive and snaps, "Excuse me, are you the forensic expert here? Do you even know how many of these pills you'd have to chug to reach this level? The half-life of these antidepressants is incredibly long, and if our resident female forensic doctor, is currently in peak, I've had 3 years of med school and a latte, do not question me mode." She snaps that if the victim had swallowed the poison all at once, he would spend his final moments decorating the floor with his lunch. Since he didn't, it must have been long-term microdosing. She looks at Lin Yan like he's a guy trying to explain NFTs at a funeral, judging him for using a specialized Jianwei macro lens on the body. Honestly, if Captain Zhou Yuming wasn't standing right there, she'd probably have Lin Yan trespassed faster than a middle-aged Karen getting kicked out of a Target. But Lin Yan doesn't have time for her "I know better than you" energy. He doesn't even give her a side-eye. He just calls out to the captain, telling Zhou Yuming to get over here and look at the screen. Hovering the lens over Yu Hao's chest, the pale, lifeless skin looks like a 4K zoomed-in landscape of "no thank you." Right there, clear as day, are a few tiny, perfectly arranged pinpricks. Zhou Yuming's eyes go wide, looking like he just accidentally opened his front-facing camera on a Monday morning. He stammers out, "What the hell is that?" The female doctor, who clearly hasn't looked through the lens yet, scoffs with the confidence of a middle manager during a mandatory Zoom call. She tells them those are just the holes from her steel blood sampling needles because, newsflash, doctors need blood samples. Groundbreaking discovery, guys. But Lin Yan and the captain are officially over her attitude. Lin Yan grabs a pair of tweezers, plucks a single strand of Yu Hao's hair, and slides it under the lens next to one of those tiny punctures. The needle marks are as thin as the hair itself. This isn't standard hospital gear, it's the work of traditional 9 needles acupuncture. Realizing the script just took a sharp turn into high-stakes medical drama, Zhou Yuming doesn't say a word and immediately starts dialing his phone. Lin Yan doesn't waste a second, sending Fang Ruowei straight to the slammer. He then orders Ren He and Gu Wenting to hightail it to the family-owned private hospital to dig up Yu Hao's medical files. He wants every record from the past year, especially the traditional Chinese medicine stuff. While Zhou Yuming is busy playing phone tag, Lin Yan breaks out his high-tech transparent lens and gives the front of Yu Hao's body a thorough scan. The female medical examiner nearby is looking like a startled quail, standing there in awkward silence and refusing to even make eye contact with Zhou Yuming. As a professional, she knows exactly what's up. If someone uses acupuncture needles to sneakily inject drugs into specific pressure points, they can spike a person's chemical levels without anyone noticing. Do it often enough and for a long enough time, and you've got yourself a lethal dose that triggers a massive heart rhythm failure. It's the ultimate natural causes cover-up, and she realized she almost let a cold-blooded murder slide as an accident. At this point, she's basically imagining her career circling the drain, probably wondering if she has enough savings to open a cat cafe. Zhou Yuming has to tap her on the shoulder to snap her out of her existential crisis, telling her to stop daydreaming and help flip the body so Lin Yan can check the back. The doctor regains her composure and gets back to work, and wouldn't you know it, Yu Hao's back is covered in even more needle marks. When the transparent lens lights up the evidence, it's so bad it almost gives Lin Yan a localized case of trypophobia. He makes sure the medical examiner snaps some photos for the evidence locker. Lin Yan tucks away his clear view mirror, because every hero needs a high-tech gadget that probably cost more than my car, and gets serious. He tells Captain Zhou Yuming that they need to deep dive into Yu Hao's social circle, specifically that close male friend of his. Look, we all know the evil stepmother trope is as old as time, but even she couldn't convince Yu Hao to become a human pincushion. Getting that many acupuncture needles stuck in you while you're wide awake takes a level of trust you usually only find in a long-term relationship or a very sketchy cult. Even Gu Wenting, who literally has a private hospital in her family's portfolio, was totally out of the loop. That means whoever convinced Yu Hao to play Operation in real life had to be someone he was incredibly close to. The boyfriend is officially the prime suspect, and Lin Yan's gut feeling is screaming louder than a middle manager during an unexpected Zoom call. Captain Zhou Yuming just waves him off with a face as gloomy as a Monday morning in a windowless cubicle. He tells Lin Yan to head home, and that if he needs more consulting tomorrow, he'll send a car to pick him up. The first thing Lin Yan does when he gets back is hop into a bath. He had those 3 fancy Hua Qingxi hot spring resort tickets ready to go, but thanks to all this drama, that plan is more dead than the guy they're investigating. At least the chaos helped clear his and Gu Wenting's names of any murderous intent, so I guess that's a small win for the legal fees. Still, if he actually had a choice, Lin Yan really didn't want Yu Hao to end up as a corpse. Under the hot water, he stands there like he's in a sad indie music video, staring into space for a long time before finally shaking his head. No, he can't start taking the blame for everything like a tragic protagonist in a low-budget drama. Even if he hadn't dragged Yu Hao out for a run today to finish his quest, those acupuncture sessions were a ticking time bomb. Whoever wanted Yu Hao dead was going to find a way to finish the job. It was only a matter of time before his subscription to life was cancelled anyway. Judging by the way Fang Ruowei speed-dialed the crematorium like she was trying to beat the rush for a limited edition sneaker drop, if Lin Yan hadn't been involved in Yu Hao's demise, he probably would have been turned into a pile of ash before the opening credits even finished. Who knew playing part-time accomplice would make Lin Yan the accidental hero of the crime scene? Chapter 18. The real main character and the high IQ villain. Early the next morning, even before his usual wake-up call, Lin Yan is blasted awake by the system's soulless electronic voice. It's giving off major passive-aggressive career coach vibes. The system tells him, "Kid, you have god-tier blade skills that cover 99.9% of all cutting techniques. How are you just sleeping your life away like a TikToker between sponsorships? You're wasting your potential. Go show off that divine craftsmanship and turn a corpse into a masterpiece of modern art." The mission is simple. Find a target, perform a little DIY surgery, and don't let the cops put you in a timeout. He's got 72 hours to get it done, and the reward is a loyal minion buff that basically makes him the CEO of his own little cult. Lin Yan's brain immediately short-circuits. He starts unloading a stream of insults at the system so spicy they could burn a hole through a VPN. For a solid 30 minutes, he constructs a geometric map of profanity, using the system's ancestors as the origin point and every colorful word in the dictionary as the radius. He finally drags himself into the bathroom to wash up, teeth gritted and fuming. Remember, in his past life, this guy was a dedicated, law-abiding student at the police academy. Talk about a career pivot nobody asked for. Does the system really have to do him dirty like this? Dismembering a body? Give me a break. Honestly, if the situation wasn't so messed up, Lin Yan would have considered cosplaying as a corpse himself just to end the misery. He's cursing, really laying into the universe right now. He's racking his brain trying to figure out what kind of cosmic bad luck he tripped over to deserve this. Small-time crimes? Shoplifting? Sure, he could scrape by and survive with Lin Konghai and Leng Shiqing doing that kind of low-stakes hustle. But playing butcher and chopping someone up? That's a major operation Lin Yan has zero experience with. He's not exactly Dexter. Thinking back to the sass the system gave him earlier, Lin Yan wipes the water off his face and stares at his reflection. He's still got that boyish, handsome face that says, "I'm the protagonist." But his eyes say, "I need a therapist." He tentatively asks the voice in his head, "Hey system, what happens if I just don't do this?" A split second later, a notification window pops up right in his grill. It's one of those semi-transparent blue screens we've seen in every manhwa since the dawn of time, but the mirror doesn't show a thing, purely for his eyes only. While Lin Yan's heart is doing backflips, the text starts to bleed onto the screen. If he fails this mission, the host will suffer a 50% random organ damage penalty. Now, Lin Yan knows that organ damage in this world isn't like a bad hangover. It's usually irreversible and a total nightmare to treat. It's the kind of torturous illness where if a major organ gets hit and you end up in the hospital, you aren't checking out until you've dropped 50 or 60 pounds. That's about 25 kilograms of pure suffering. This absolute god-awful. The system is playing a lovely game of Russian roulette with her vitals, and the prize is random organ damage. If Lin Yan has the legendary bad luck of a player hitting a 0.01% pity drop and the system targets her heart, it's straight to the graveyard for her. And since the system considers skin an organ, she's looking at a potential future where she looks like a piece of overcooked beef jerky. Honestly, our girl is so exhausted, she doesn't even have the energy to type a 1-star, do not recommend review to the developers anymore. For the first time in her life, she's feeling that deep, soul-crushing, I should have just stayed in bed vibe. All she did was leave one massive, scrolling wall of text under that novel. Was the roasting really worth being transmigrated into this nightmare? Was it really that serious, Mr. Author? Lin Yan closes her eyes and takes a breath so long you'd think she was trying to suck the oxygen out of the entire room. Suddenly, some dark energy in her brain starts ticking, and her first instinct is to start drafting a literal murder disposal blueprint. She starts thinking about how someone with a rich and handsome aesthetic could lure people in like a shady recruiter on a corporate job board, but then she catches herself. No, no, no! She slaps her forehead hard enough to reset her factory settings. She shakes those federal most wanted thoughts out of her head and tries to soothe her frantic heart. She definitely doesn't want to gamble on a 50% organ failure debuff or see if she can survive on half a liver, but she's even more terrified of becoming a criminal on the run. Even if she has to spend her life dependent on fantasy world meds, she refuses to live like a sewer rat, hiding in the shadows and dodging the law. What's the point of having god-tier special abilities if you're living like a basement-dwelling gremlin, never able to show your face in the sun, or enjoy the perks of having more special skills than everyone else? At this point, Lin Yan might as well find a cozy hospital bed and just check out of life for a while. He figured he could at least contribute some research data to Gu Wenting's private clinic. which is basically code for becoming a glorified lab rat with better snacks. After a breakfast that felt as heavy as a mid-season plot twist, he was planning to check on his dinky little entertainment company. But of course, the universe had other plans. His phone buzzed, and it was Zhou Yu Ming on the line. "Lin Yan, your temporary ID is ready. Plus, we've got a bit of a situation. Get your butt over here." Lin Yan just chuckled. "Wow, Captain Zhou, you're really leaning into this treating me like an unpaid intern vibe, aren't you?" But the captain wasn't biting. "Hey now, you're our official technical consultant. And since the investigation is currently deeper than a secondary character's backstory, we need your brain." Lin Yan knew it was just a flimsy excuse to get him to do the heavy lifting, but he rolled with it anyway. Less than an hour later, he pulls up to the precinct in a flashy red sports car that probably costs more than the entire department's annual coffee budget. He hops out, long legs leading the way, spinning his car keys like he's in a slow-mo montage, while every cop in the building stares with enough envy to fuel a villain arc. He didn't even wait for an escort. He walked straight into Zhou Yu Ming's office like he owned the place, and man, the captain looked like he'd been through a blender. The ashtray on his desk was overflowing like a corporate trash bin on a Friday afternoon, and his hair was such a bird's nest that even a pigeon would find it too messy for a squat. His face was so oily you could probably use it to lubricate a rusty engine. Old man Zhou Yu Ming usually has a face like a sour lemon, but it actually brightens up a bit when he sees Lin Yan arrive. He gestures over to a young guy in plain clothes and explains that this is Zhou Chuanbai, a fresh transfer he's bringing along to help handle the case. Lin Yan's eyes go wide, and he barely keeps himself from screaming, "Are you kidding me?" out loud. See, this isn't just some random rookie. This kid is the literal main character of that web novel, Those Years I Outsmarted High IQ Criminals. Since he's officially joined his dad's squad, it means the original plot has officially kicked off. From this moment on, Zhou Chuanbai is going to have the kind of luck that makes lottery winners look like losers. He's going to crack major cases like he's playing on easy mode, getting promoted so fast he'll basically be riding a SpaceX rocket to the top. His team will be legendary, and he'll have enough medals pinned to his chest to need a chiropractor. Then, like a hungry bloodhound that just caught a whiff of a backyard barbecue, he'll spend his entire life trying to hunt down the story's big bad, Lin Yan. Our boy Lin Yan takes a deep breath, feeling like he just got hit with a surprise bill from a subscription he forgot to cancel. He finally realizes why that trashy system woke him up so early with its annoying buzzing. It was a notification that the main quest line was live. Now that the hero is on the board, the villain has to put on his makeup and play his part in this pre-written destiny. Even though Zhou Chuanbai hasn't actually done anything yet, Lin Yan was so mentally drained he was basically running on thoughts and prayers. Then, the official protagonist of this whole circus stands up and offers a hand. Meet Zhou Chuanbai. He's looking all handsome and righteous, like he just stepped out of a propaganda poster for good boys who do their laundry. He tells Lin Yan, "Hey, I heard your tech skills are cracked and you've got a real eye for corpse details. Looking forward to working with you." Lin Yan forced a smile, burying his internal what the hell deep down. Chapter 19. Are you sure you're totally clueless? The moment their hands met, the air got weird. It was that classic fated meeting trope, like they were long-lost buddies or enemies from a past life, but neither had the login credentials to remember. It wasn't a physical spark or a crush. It was more like a primal instinct hitting their brains like a laggy OS update. Lin Yan was the first to snap back to reality because his anxiety levels are higher than a GPU price spike. He pulled his hand back with a smile as fake as a hot singles in your area ad and hit him with the corporate classic. "Mr. Zhou, you're clearly a man of talent. I'm sure you'll do big things." Zhou Chuanbai started to reply, but Zhou Yu Ming cut him off with a look that said he'd seen enough bromance for one day. He waved a hand and tossed Lin Yan an ID card, telling him it was his badge, even if it was just a temporary one. It's enough to get the job done for now. Lin Yan strolls over to Zhou Yuming's desk and swipes that familiar little notebook. Turns out, Zhou is actually a bit of a try-hard, way more detailed than the last guy who hired him as a consultant for that home invasion murder case. This time, the badge reads Temporary Special Technical Consultant for Administrative Group 1. But don't let the temporary tag hurt your feelings, it's basically a golden ticket. As long as Group 1 is on the clock, Lin Yan can just airdrop onto any crime scene, take over the mic, and ignore everyone's opinions like a CEO on a power trip. Zhou Yuming flicks his lighter, looking at Lin Yan with the kind of hope you usually see in a dog waiting for a treat. He mentions that if the case is solved, there's a fat bonus in it for him. Zhou Chuanbai sees his dad's signal and jumps in like a hype man at a club, adding that this badge is high-tier loot. Apparently, while the case is active, Lin Yan can even call in a full SWAT team for backup. Lin Yan looks at the temporary ID number, and honestly, the vibes are getting a little weird. He's thinking, do these two actually know my secret identity? Giving me the authority to call in the cavalry? Aren't they worried I'll just parachute into the crime scene and ruin the entire investigation like a toddler with a permanent marker? Even though Lin Yan already flexed some hacker skills that made the previous murder investigation look like child's play while he was helping them out, Lin Yan didn't just stop at the bad guys. He basically mapped out the entire incognito mode industry and the local street-level pharmacists for Zhou Yuming. It's like he's the Google Maps of the criminal underworld, except with fewer ads for car insurance. Now, usually the police department is stricter than a Gym Bros macro tracking app, so giving Lin Yan this much authority makes zero sense. Did his high-powered, sugar mummy tier mother pull some strings behind the scenes? Talk about a career fast track. Before Lin Yan could even process his new LinkedIn status, Zhou Chuanbai dragged him into the interrogation room. And sitting there, rocking the latest fashion in shiny steel bracelets, was Yu Hao's stepmom, Fang Ruowei. When she saw Lin Yan sitting there looking as smug as a crypto bro during a bull run, she absolutely lost it. He's the guy who killed my son. Why is he here? I'm calling HR. This is an abuse of power. He's a suspect. Slam. Zhou Chuanbai hit the table so hard, I felt it in my own fourth wall breaking shins. He looked colder than the scene notification on a ghosted dating app profile. Listen up, Fang Ruowei, he growled. Lin Yan has been cleared. He's our special consultant now, so watch your mouth. If you want to file a formal complaint, go ahead. I'm sure the suggestion box needs some more fire starter. But for now, start talking. He picked up his pen like he was about to sign a multi-million-dollar deal, but Fang Ruowei just gritted her teeth. She hit them with that classic villain sneer and said, "Same story, different hour. I don't know anything about Yu Hao's death. You've been grilling me all night. Isn't my legal checkout time coming up soon, Zhou Chuanbai?" Zhou Chuanbai furrows his brow, probably wondering if he left the stove on. But before he can get a word out, Lin Yan decides the good cop routine is for people with more patience and fewer spooky items. He stands up, moves toward Fang Ruowei with the swagger of a man who knows his lighting is perfect, and pulls out a tube of daylight, ghost-seeing, soul-binding incense. Man, these manhua item names are longer than a CVS receipt. He pops the cap with his long, elegant fingers and flicks a lighter in front of her face like he's checking to see if she's actually home. He asks if she really doesn't know anything, sounding way too much like a disappointed dad. Zhou Chuanbai almost tries to stop him, thinking about how many HR reports he's going to have to file for unauthorized use of mystical aromatherapy in the workplace. But then he catches Fang Ruowei's eyes shifting. She's trying to remember a password under pressure. He decides to keep his mouth shut and his feet planted. Fang Ruowei turns her head away and shuts her eyes, clearly planning to stay silent until the heat death of the universe. Lin Yan doesn't do silence. With a click of his lighter, he ignites the incense, which is about 2 centimeters or nearly an inch thick, basically a tactical-grade scented candle. A tiny wisp of white smoke rises, carrying a heavy woody scent that screams haunted forest. He waves it in her face, and Feng Ruowei goes from "I'm too tough to talk" to "get me out of here" in record time. She snaps her eyes open, looking like she just saw her bank account balance after a Steam sale, and starts scrambling back so hard she's about to tip over the entire interrogation setup. To make sure she gets the full 5-star spa experience from hell, Lin Yan follows her nose with the incense for about 10 seconds. Once she's had her fill of the ghost smoke, he calmly screws the lid back on, cutting off the oxygen and putting out the stick as if he didn't just traumatize the poor girl. Meanwhile, Feng Ruowei is vibrating harder than a budget phone on silent mode. Her bracelets are clanking together so fast it sounds like a frantic percussion solo, which has Zhou Chuanbai looking totally lost. He leans over to Lin Yan, who is currently sitting there looking as smug as a cat that just found the hidden catnip stash, and whispers, what exactly is her deal? Lin Yan just fights back a grin and nods toward that little glowing bottle sitting next to the soul entrapping box. Our girl Feng Ruowei looks like she just saw a literal ghost, and her mental defenses are crashing faster than a laptop trying to run a high-end game on a potato. Tears are pouring out, her eyes are bugging, and she doesn't even last a full minute before her sanity decides to clock out early. Forgetting that she's literally in an interrogation room, she starts screaming like she's a contestant on a trashy reality TV show. "It wasn't me. I didn't kill you. I didn't do it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I swear I didn't kill you or your son. It was that absolute trash-tier human Tong Mingdong. He's the one who made me do it. Zhao Fengyu, please, big sis, have mercy. Let me go." "Okay, fine. I'll admit I locked your door, but I had no idea there wasn't any food in that house. It wasn't me. Please, just don't find me. Stay away from me." Suddenly, it's like she's being choked by some invisible force, her head snapping back as she gasps for air. Feng Ruowei is gasping for air like she just tried to run a marathon in a corset. Her voice is shaking more than a budget smartphone on vibrate as she starts snitching faster than a middle schooler in the principal's office. She screams out, "Zhao Fengyu, if you want revenge, go find Tang Ningdong. He's the one who orchestrated everything." Seriously, this girl threw her partner under the bus so fast he didn't even have time to check his side mirrors. Apparently, this Tong Ningdong guy is the definition of a deadbeat villain because he's the one who ordered the hit on Zhao's son. Ruowei claims she was just the logistics coordinator who called the crematorium after the deed was done. Yeah, because handling the body totally makes you innocent in a court of law. She's sobbing now, yelling that she didn't mean to kill anyone and she just wanted to marry a rich guy. Ah, the classic "I was just gold digging" defense. Truly a tale as old as time, or at least as old as a reality TV dating show. She begs the ghost to let her go, promising to burn so much spirit money that the afterlife will have a massive inflation crisis. Her eyes are bulging out like she's watching a horror movie in 4D, and she looks like she's being choked by an invisible hand. She's shaking the interrogation chair so hard you'd think it was a faulty massage chair at the mall. Everyone watching this is basically experiencing a 404 error. Their brains are completely fried. Even Lin Yan is a bit shocked. He didn't expect this "see a ghost in broad daylight" incense to be this effective. She only inhaled the smoke for about 10 seconds, and the stick hasn't even burned down 1%, yet she's already having a full-blown mental breakdown from seeing her victims. Talk about getting your money's worth on supernatural supplies. She's definitely not faking it. She's terrified out of her mind. Meanwhile, right next to Lin Yan, Zhou Chuanbai is officially losing his mind. He is a rookie, sure, but his police academy training definitely did not cover interrogation room spookiness 101. He can tell Feng Ruowei is speaking from the heart, which is terrifying because he is a firm believer in the power of science and not getting haunted by vengeful spirits. If he did not know any better, he would think the thermostat in there just dropped to Antarctic levels. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, Li Xiaosheng is looking like he just saw his entire crypto portfolio hit zero. He cannot figure out why Lin Yan and his weird incense turned the suspect into a method actor performing a one-woman show for invisible ghosts. He is seriously wondering if that smoke is some new designer drug or just really aggressive aromatherapy. More importantly, how is he supposed to write this up in a police report? Suspect started tripping after smelling a mystery stick is not exactly going to fly with the captain. He will be lucky if the boss does not toss the file back in his face. Back in the hot seat, Zhou Chuanbai nudges Lin Yan, asking if he knows this Zhao Fangyu person the suspect is screaming about. Lin Yan just gives a tiny nod and types a few words on his phone. Yu Hao's biological mother. Suddenly, any tiny bit of pity Zhou Chuanbai had for Fang Ruowei's mental breakdown evaporates faster than a tax refund. This woman is not just a villain, she is a cold-blooded lizard in human skin. She helped delete both the original wife, Zhao Fangyu, and the son, Yu Hao. Also, her own kid could inherit the company shares. Talk about a legendary level of toxic stepmother energy. Look, if this woman doesn't end up in a cell for the next few decades, I'm going to be more tilted than a competitive gamer losing their rank to a lag spike. But as we all know, reality loves to kick us in the shins just when things are getting interesting. Luckily, Fang Ruowei has been scared absolutely witless. She's singing louder than a pop star with broken autotune, giving Zhou Chuanbai every single dirty detail. She laid out the entire plan for murdering Zhao Fangyu and even snitched on Tang Mingdong. Apparently, Tang told her to cremate Yu Hao's body the second he kicked the bucket to turn the evidence into literal dust and cover their tracks. She even spilled the beans on the payment for the hit, proving that some people will sell their souls for the right price. While this confession was heating up, a middle-aged guy named Yu Yuanshan and his lawyer marched into the interrogation room, led by Zhou Yuming. When he saw Lin Yan sitting there looking cool as a cucumber, he caught a major case of the grumps. He didn't even wait for Lin Yan to explain why he was crashing the party before his face went full angry landlord. He told the vice captain that he was taking his wife home right now and they could talk to his lawyer's voicemail for all he cared. But before Zhou Yuming could even respond, Zhou Chuanbai stopped writing and dropped a total truth bomb. He looked Yu Yuanshan in the eye and told him his wife had just admitted to murdering his son and even named the mastermind behind it. And for the grand finale, she confessed to the hit on his ex-wife, Zhao Fangyu too. He stared him down, totally fearless. Staring into Yu Yuanshan's eyes is like looking into a freezer that's been unplugged for a week. Cold, dark, and smelling like something died. You'd think he's about to go full John Wick on the person who took out his family, but the man is as calm as a monk on a yoga retreat. It's like he already read the spoilers for his own life. He looks at the investigators and basically says, yeah, whatever crime you're pinning on her, I'll sign the forgiveness papers and write a check big enough to buy a small island. Just give me my son's body so I can turn him into ash and move on with my Tuesday. Zhou Chuanbai's brain hits the blue screen of death. His jaw drops so low it's practically in the basement. He's looking at this guy like, bro, she literally deleted your ex-wife and your kid. Are you hearing yourself, or did you accidentally set your empathy settings to 0? But Yu Yuanshan cuts him off faster than a YouTube ad you can't skip. He's got that I'm richer than God scowl on his face, telling them he doesn't care how they got the confession, he's got the cash to make it go away. Seriously, if money were a superpower, this guy would be wearing a cape. Lin Yan, who's clearly done with this drama, taps the table like he's waiting for a lagging website to load. He tells the old man that sure, he can take the suspect, but the body stays. It's a crime scene, not a lost and found. They'll call him when they actually catch the mastermind behind the murder. Yu Yuanshan gives Lin Yan a look that could curdle milk, then cracks a smirk that says he knows exactly whose kid he is. He mentions Lin Yan's father, Lin Konghai, like he's dropping a name to get a better table at a restaurant. After Fang Ruowei is hauled away, the room goes quieter than a library during a mime convention. This was Zhou Chuanbai's first murder case, and he came in thinking he was going to be the Sherlock Holmes of the department, only to realize the truth is messier than a toddler with a bowl of spaghetti. Just when they're about to cuff the real culprit, Yu Yuanshan decides to dump a bucket of ice water over the whole situation, and honestly, it's a total vibe killer. We're talking about two human lives here, a mother and her son, and their deaths are directly tied to this woman. But apparently, in this world, if you've got a letter of forgiveness and a mountain of cash, you can just Control-Z a double homicide. For a young detective like Zhou Chuanbai, who's still fueled by justice and probably hasn't realized the legal system is often just a pay-to-win DLC, this is a massive gut punch. Lin Yan can see the light dying in his eyes, so she decides to step in before he goes full emo protagonist on us. She gives Zhou Chuanbai a gentle pat on the shoulder, telling him to chin up. Why waste energy being mad at a heartless old fossil like Yu Yuanshan? Since the victims were his own wife and kid, the law says he's the one who gets to sign the get-out-of-jail-free card. Plus, with his bank account, he can definitely afford to make the problem disappear. It's the kind of logic that makes you want to leave a 1-star review on reality itself. She points out that Fang Ruowei was basically just the intern for the crime, only responsible for cleaning up the bodies and scrubbing the evidence. She hadn't even finished her to-do list before they caught her. Even without that forgiveness letter, she'd probably only serve enough time to finish a Netflix miniseries. Instead of sulking, they need to pivot to the real big fish, Tang Mingdong. And let's not forget Liu Songyu, that rat guy's little boyfriend. You just know that guy is knee-deep in the sludge too. Mentioning the next target hits Zhou Chuanbai like a double shot of espresso straight to the soul. He's suddenly back in the game and hyped out of his mind. He realizes that since Fang Ruowei is being released, she's going to be burning evidence faster than a guilty politician during an audit. They need to move, and they need to move now. Seeing him bounce back to full health just because of a few words gives Lin Yan a weird, tingly feeling in her chest. The kind of subtle vibe that usually means a romance plot is loading. Even when she thinks about the supposed main character of this story, Tian Shui, there's just something different about our boy here. Our main man is basically the author's favorite child, soaking up every buff like he's got a cheat code for life. But hey, even this guy started as a total rookie at the security bureau. It just goes to show nobody's born a master detective. And on the flip side, our boy Lin Yan wasn't exactly born to be a high IQ supervillain with a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt. Chapter 21, The Peach Blossom Totem Face Case. Outside the bureau, in a luxury business van that looks like it costs more than my entire life insurance policy, Yu Yuanshan is staring at Fang Ruowei with eyes colder than a LinkedIn rejection letter. He asks her how the hell she let all those secrets slip. Fang Ruowei is clearly traumatized, looking like her brain's internal server just crashed. She stares blankly for a few seconds before her gray matter finally finishes processing the data. She whispers, barely audible, that she saw Zhao Fangyu. Yu Yuanshan frowns hard enough to give himself a permanent crease and crushes his cigarette like it's his enemy's hopes and dreams. He catches the driver's eye in the rearview mirror. The driver gets the hint immediately, pulls out his phone and starts typing away, probably terminating someone's contract, and I don't mean their Netflix subscription. As the car pulls away, it lingers for a second next to a bright red sports car that stands out like a neon sign in a monastery. Lin Yan thought he was finally off the hook. He was ready to ghost this father-son duo and go handle his entertainment company, which, let's be honest, is probably just a front for his villainous side quests. But just as he pulls out his keys, Zhou Chuanbai walks over looking like a kid who just lost his balloon. He tells him that Liu Songyu is staying tighter than a jar of pickles and asks if Lin Yan will come along to help break him. Back at the interrogation room, Zhou Chuanbai holds up a stack of papers like he's trying to sell us a limited edition printer ink subscription. He's found the medical records for our guy's frequent shopping sprees for tricyclic antidepressants. Talk about a blue Christmas. Turns out the suspect has a sister in the hospital with leukemia, and the bills are being footed by some guy named Tang Mingdong. If we use that lead, he's basically cooked. Lin Yan tries to play it cool, questioning if they're even on a first-name basis with the suspect yet, but before Zhou Chuanbai can answer, Li Xiaosheng stumbles out of a nearby office. He looks like a sad, shriveled eggplant that's been left in the back of a fridge since the mid-90s. But as soon as he sees Lin Yan and Zhou Chuanbai, he perks up like a dry sponge in a car wash, waving them over. Apparently, the big boss, Zhou Yuming, wants to see them. Stepping into Zhou Yuming's office is like walking into a low-budget vape convention. The smoke is so thick, you'd think he was trying to summon a forest spirit or hide from an incoming tax audit. Zhou Chuanbai doesn't even say hello. He just marches over and cracks a window while his forehead crinkles into a scowl deep enough to hide a credit card in. Lin Yan's over there holding her nose, asking the captain if he's trying to hotbox himself to death just to make the paperwork more exciting. Zhou Yuming just sighs, looking like he's about to drop the worst news of the fiscal year. Zhai Wenbin is dead. Zhou Chuanbai looks totally lost. Bless his heart, he probably can't remember what he had for breakfast, but Lin Yan's brain has more storage than a NASA mainframe, and she realizes exactly who that is. Mei Xiao's eyebrow twitched harder than a gamer's thumb during a world record speedrun. He recognizes this guy, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the shady video crime syndicate in Zhangcheng City. According to the data Zhou Yuming dug up from the internal system, this dude wasn't just some low-level grunt. He was a high-ranking executive in the colorful video underworld. Zhou Yuming scratches his graceful bird's nest of hair, looking like he just survived a 3-day bender at a tech convention with no shower in sight. He explains that he finally got the green light from the higher-ups yesterday to launch a nationwide manhunt, but the suspect decided to kick the bucket in the middle of the night. The clues are gone, but that's the least of their problems. Every scrap of evidence, computers, phones, probably even the guy's search history, has vanished into thin air. Lin Yan's mood is currently sinking faster than a crypto coin after a bad tweet. Between the pressure of the dismemberment case and this new disaster, he's getting a major case of the jitters. He asks if Zhou thinks he's the one who leaked the info. Zhou shakes his head faster than a no on a bad dating app profile. He's not blaming Lin Yan. He's worried that the local precinct has a termite problem, a mole who's getting paid under the table to tip off the syndicate. And the most terrifying part, the person behind this hit is likely the prime suspect from the Peach Blossom Totem Face embroidery case. A real nightmare fuel artist known as Xu Niang. Lin Yan shots a look at Zhou Chuanbai, who is currently wearing the same "I've seen things" expression you get after accidentally clicking a hot singles in your area ad on a work computer. According to the original plot, the sacred script the author probably wrote while binge-watching true crime documentaries. This embroidery lady wasn't supposed to show her face until our main man, Zhou Chuanbai, started his fancy special task force. In the book, this lady was the undisputed world champion of hide-and-seek, only slicing and dicing people when the cops were literally breathing down her neck. But here she is, ahead of schedule like a software update that actually breaks your phone. Lin Yan's brain is doing high-speed gymnastics. Did his elite tier hacking of that spicy video ring cause some massive butterfly effect? Did he just speedrun the plot and trigger a DLC boss by mistake? And hold on, isn't Xu Niang a card-carrying member of the Mingwang cartel? Does that mean Zhai Wenbin and his private film operation were just a side hustle for the underworld's version of a Fortune 500 company? While Lin Yan is having a full-blown existential crisis, the two Zhous are just standing there, thinking he's simply shocked by the name of the case. Suddenly, Zhou Yuming's phone starts screaming for attention. He picks it up, and his face turns a shade of pale, usually reserved for people realizing they've been on mute during a 30-minute presentation. After 10 minutes of heavy, soul-crushing silence, Zhou Yuming finally hangs up and sparks a cigarette. The room stayed silent for so long I thought the illustrator had forgotten to draw the speech bubbles. The spring breeze was still chilling the air, and the cigarette smoke was finally starting to clear out of the room like a crowd leaving a bad stand-up set. In the flickering light of his smoke, Zhou Yuming finally spoke up, sounding like he'd been gargling gravel. He dropped the bombshell that Zhai Wenbin wasn't just the IT support for a bunch of adult video criminals, which is already a sketchy LinkedIn bio, but he was also a member of a much bigger shadow organization with the codename Spade. Zhou Yuming looked like he'd aged 10 years in 5 minutes. He'd just gotten off the phone with the safety bureau. You know, the guys who usually spend their time monitoring your browser history, and apparently they're tracking a professional killer named Xu Niang. Based on how Zhai Wenbin was turned into a human jigsaw puzzle, they're pretty sure she's the one responsible. Zhou Chuanbai frowned, wondering if they should even bother staying on the case if the feds were involved. I mean, usually when the guys in suits show up, the local cops get relegated to bringing them donuts. But Zhou Yuming just crushed his cigarette into the ashtray like he was squashing a bug. The bureau isn't taking over, they're just dumping their leftovers. They're giving the team some scraps of info and expecting them to do all the heavy lifting. Since Spade is already dead and didn't leave any digital breadcrumbs for them to follow, the Bureau isn't wasting any more manpower on this. They're only interested in the members who are still breathing. Zhou Chuanbai took a deep breath, finally realizing the Bureau was basically treating them like an unpaid intern. They wanted all the results with none of the work. It's the ultimate corporate move. If they're so certain Xu Niang is the killer, why aren't they out there doing their own damn jobs? Look, even if we manage to figure out Xu Niang's real identity, taking down someone from a massive criminal syndicate is basically a job for SWAT and the National Security Bureau. If we nail the case, we'll probably just get a good job kid and a pat on the head, but if we blow it, then we're just the local idiots who overstepped. Zhou Yuming was about to drop some cold hard logic, like, do you really think a high-level ghost like that can be found by some random dude with a search engine? But then he stopped mid-sentence. He looked at Lin Yan with that creepy, intense stare your boss gives you right before he asks you to work through your vacation. He realized, wait a minute, we actually have Lin Yan. Lin Yan's internal scam alert went off immediately. Chapter 22. Are you trying to play me like a cheap fiddle? His first thought was that this old fox Zhou Yuming was trying to exploit his mom's insane political power. You know, the classic nepotism, but make it dangerous trope. Lin Yan took a giant step back, his face screaming, "Don't even think about it." He yelled out that he is his own man and his mom's business is her own. Zhou Yuming waved his hands like he was swatting away a bad smell, telling him to chill out. That wasn't what he meant. According to the National Security Bureau's intel, there's a legendary hacker named Spade who handles all the tech-side dirty work for that organization. Since Lin Yan already smashed through Spade's firewall and exposed that entire spicy video ring like he was leaking a celebrity's private DMs, he might be able to follow the digital breadcrumbs. If he plays his cards right, they might actually hunt down Xu Niang and crack the legendary Peach Blossom Totem Mask case before the feds even finish their morning donuts. Lin Yan is strictly no thank you when it comes to stealing the protagonist's thunder or doing the main character's chores for 0 rewards. Why risk your neck for 0 loot? That's some low-level NPC energy he's not about. He looks at Zhou Yuming with the same face I make when the skip ad button doesn't appear after 5 seconds. Seriously, thanks to Zhou Chuanbai's main character energy kicking into gear, there's a dismemberment case hanging over Lin Yan's head like a bad terms of service update. He asks the captain if he thinks the country's cybersecurity law is just a suggestion. Do I look like I wear my underwear on the outside of my pants? He snaps, basically asking if the guy thinks he's a superhero. He reminds the captain that last time he was hunting actual criminals. Now, without a badge or even a legit ID, asking him to do a needle in a haystack search for private data on normal citizens is a great way to get him a permanent residency in a cell with a very uncomfortable roommate. He's not about that prison food lifestyle, and he's definitely not looking to be the captain's personal fall guy. Zhou Yuming stays quiet, probably realizing he's asking for a felony on a silver platter. Before he can say another word, Zhou Chuanbai grabs Lin Yan's arm like he's rescuing him from a boring HR seminar. He tells the captain to keep nursing that headache while they go interrogate Liu Songyu. They've got enough evidence to prove that even if Liu isn't the final boss of this arc, he's definitely the one who did the stabbing and is looking at a life sentence, minimum. Zhou Chuanbai drags him away before the captain can double down, and Lin Yan happily tags along. Honestly, he's just glad to leave before his innocent bystander mask slips, and he accidentally reveals he knows way more than a civilian should. After all, Lin Yan is the only guy in this world who's actually read the original script from cover to cover. While he didn't have a photographic memory back then, he still remembered enough about this Hades card organization to know they weren't just a bunch of edgy cosplayers. These guys were speedrunning the criminal code before it was cool. We're talking about the Peach Blossom face embroidery case, the Salt Lake Dismemberment Special, and the Music Classroom Burn and Chop Variety Hour. Honestly, they were giving the original Timeline villain version of Lin Yan a real run for his money in the absolute menace category. But here's where the plot really goes off the rails and into fan fiction territory. In the original story, the big boss of Hades card, a lady named Ming Jiao, developed a massive obsessive crush on Lin Yan. She didn't just send him a "you up" text, she brought her entire multinational crime syndicate along like a twisted dowry. It was the ultimate corporate merger from hell. You had a high IQ genius and a bunch of professional psychos forming a power couple that gave the entire justice system a bigger headache than a 40 GB Windows update. Under Lin Yan's leadership, these guys didn't just break the law, they took the legal system, threw it in a blender, and hit the pulse button. They turned being a menace into a literal art form. And because Lin Yan is essentially playing this life with a strategy guide in his lap, he knows exactly who every single member is and where they're hiding during this specific year. Lin Yan realizes it is time to shut his trap. He is not trying to save his voice for a singing career. He is just worried that if he leaks one more detail about the Ming Wang card organization, Zhou Yuming will sniff it out. Never underestimate an old-school cop's intuition. The guy probably has a sixth sense for plot holes. If the security bureau starts asking how Lin Yan knows the private bios of every shadow villain in the city, he is toast. Those guys do not do polite questions. If they suspect he is part of the cult, Lin Yan will be rotting in a cage until the heat death of the universe. Luckily, the actual protagonist of this story, Zhou Chuanbai, has finally started following the script. Lin Yan decides to let the Chosen One handle the dirty work of catching the Ming Wang goons. I mean, they will get caught eventually, right? Why ruin a perfectly good afternoon with paperwork? Inside the interrogation room, Liu Songyu looks like he has been through a blender. He is staring at his shiny new handcuffs with a 1,000-yard stare. The second he sees Lin Yan, his jaw drops, giving him that same glitch in the Matrix shocked expression we saw on Feng Rouwei earlier. Credit where it is due, Liu Songyu is ridiculously pretty. He has got that androgynous, is he a boy or a K-pop idol face, complete with those dreamy peach blossom eyes. Between his pale skin and that fragile damsel in distress energy, it is no wonder Yu Hao was totally obsessed with him. Lin Yan glances at